Chapter 646. Seeing Tianzong Haowei take off his black mask and attack her, Yu Xiaowu's eyes were full of disappointment. Although Tianzong Haowei and she were both from the King's Path secret realm, there was still a big gap between their strengths. Otherwise, Yu Xiaowu wouldn't have been able to be the commander of the Snowdance Corps. Stupid. Yu Xiaowu snorted. She was completely disappointed in Tianzong Haowei. She raised her hand, and the power of the ice divine characters swept out. The sky was filled with ice spikes condensed from the power of the ice divine characters. They rained down on Tianzong Haowei, who had soared into the sky. Tianzong Haowei hurriedly condensed the power of the purification divine characters to form a white barrier in an attempt to block the falling ice spikes. Ice spike divine chain, Yu Xiaowu shouted. The ice spikes formed a divine chain, covering the sky. The terrifying cold air covered the whole area. Even the martial practitioners of the law enforcement group, who wanted to help Tianzong Haowei, were shocked by the chain. They scattered in all directions, not daring to resist at all. Divine chain. Long you saw Yu Xiaowu's means. Sure enough, most of the experts from the King's Path secret realm had learned how to condense divine chains. At this moment, especially Shu Chan, she carefully observed the ice spike divine chain that Yu Xiaowu had condensed. The ice spikes were linked together to form a long chain, which greatly improved the power of the ice divine characters. This was the biggest gap between Long Yu and the experts from the King's Path secret realm. Long Yu might succeed if he were to assassinate an expert in the Seven Realms divinity realm. However, if he were to deal with an expert from the King's Path secret realm, he would never succeed. Instead, he would be easily killed. Ice spike dark destruction. Yu Xiaowu let out another low roar, and the ice spikes that filled the sky suddenly exploded. The endless power of the ice divine characters instantly swept across the entire area. Tianzong Haowei condensed the purification divine characters as fast as he could, trying to resist Yu Xiaowu's attack. However, he couldn't resist it alone. In just a moment, Heavenzong Haowei was completely surrounded by the frigid ice divine runes. The cold energy contained in the frigid ice divine runes invaded his entire body. It was also at this moment that Haowei realized that his good friend, Deputy General Su Tiangao, actually fled outside without hesitation. He didn't care about Haowei at all. Bastard, Tianzong Haowei spat out a mouthful of blood on the spot. Then, regardless of everything else, he quickly fled in another direction. Now that he had attacked Yu Xiaowu, it was too late to regret. The only way to survive was to run away. He bet that Yu Xiaowu would not chase him, but Su Tiangao. Leave that guy to me, Shu Chan said softly. Her beautiful figure flashed as she chased after the escaping Su Tiangao. The power of the icy divine characters permeated the battlefield. Su Tiangao fled for his life, but he did not expect that Shu Chan would immediately chase after him. A mere 5 divine realm lass, a murderous glint flashed in Su Tiangao's eyes. He saw that Shu Chan had caught up to him, but Yu Xiaowu did not chase after him. He heaved a sigh of relief and prepared to deal with Shu Chan first. In his eyes, Shu Chan was only a 5 divine realm cultivator. How could she be his opponent? It was a pity that Deputy General Su Tiangao did not witness the scene of the 7 divine realm Tianqin Crown Prince being assassinated by the 2 divine realm Long Yu. Otherwise, he would not have dared to stay and deal with Shu Chan, Roar of the Fire Dragon. Su Tiangao stopped in his tracks and cast an innate mystique. The fiery divine characters condensed into a fiery dragon and roared at the pursuing Shu Chan. Mystique, Eye of Azura. Shu Chan's first reaction was to condense the Eye of Azura. A terrifying pupil appeared above Su Tiangao's head. When that pupil opened, the power of Azura, divine runes enveloped Su Tiangao. Mystique, Shadow, Butterfly Transformation. Facing the fiery dragon, Shu Chan cast the 4th mystique that Long Yu had never seen before, Shadow, Butterfly Transformation. Under the cover of the Azura divine characters, Shu Chan turned into a shadow of a black butterfly. As if she had dived into the depths of hell, She barely dodged the fiery dragon's roar of the fire dragon. After dark shadow butterfly transformation, Shu Chan's body became like a butterfly. She was extremely small, and when she flew, her speed was extremely fast. She was extremely agile in battle. At this moment, even the innate mystique of the Seven Divine Realm cultivator, roar of the fire dragon, couldn't hit Shu Chan's body. Instead, Shu Chan transformed into a butterfly and flew away. After dodging the fiery dragon, she reverted to her human form and raised her hand to condense Azura divine characters. Azura, God chains. Shu Chan's eyes flashed with concentration. Although she had reached the 5th level of synchronization with the darkness attribute divine characters, she had never condensed God chains before. Now, after a long time, she had comprehended the method to condense Azura God chains on her own. The Azura divine characters condensed into God chains and shot towards Deputy General Su Tiangao. The eerie aura of the Azura divine characters spread throughout the battlefield, causing everyone to shudder. How is this possible? Deputy General Su Tiangao had not placed Shu Chan in his eyes at all. He had wanted to kill her in one move, but Shu Chan's eye of Azura had greatly affected him. He was struggling to break free from the eye of Azura when he saw Shu Chan condense Azura God chains and wrap around him. This sent a chill down his spine. This last was only at the 5th Divine Realm. How could she condense God chains? Could it be that this lass had reached the 5th level of synchronization with the darkness attribute divine characters? Not only Deputy General Su Tiangao, but even Yu Xiuwu, who was preparing to chase after Tianzong Haowei, was surprised by Shu Chan's method of condensing God chains. This was the first time Yu Xiuwu had seen with her own eyes how a martial practitioner who had not yet stepped into the Imperial Path arcane realm could condense God chains. Usually, those who could do this were peerless geniuses, just like the Demon Emperor Yu Hanxin of the North Snow Dynasty. She was able to do this back then, and was chosen by one of the 5 emperors who wanted to take her as a disciple. Amazing! Following Yu Xiuwu's praise, Deputy General Su Tiangao was completely wrapped by the Azura God chains before he could break free from the shackles of the Eye of Azura. The terrifying Azura divine characters eroded his entire body. After a few screams, Deputy General Su Tiangao was killed by Shu Chan's Azura God chains and turned into a pool of blood. This scene made Tianzong Haowei, who had escaped far away, change his expression. He wanted to escape even faster, but how could Yu Xiuwu give him the chance? The ice divine characters rained down like a rainstorm, blocking Tianzong Haowei's escape route. Then, the two of them fought for a while. Yu Xiuwu's God chains formed again and firmly suppressed Tianzong Haowei. Tianzong Haowei was covered in blood, and his black clothes were messy. He was no match for Yu Xiuwu. Dying. Following Yu Xiuwu's announcement, Tianzong Haowei was frozen into an ice sculpture by a cold glacier. Then, the ice sculpture exploded and turned into ashes along with his body. Those martial practitioners of the law enforcement group who tried to help Tianzong Haowei stopped when they saw that the situation was not right. They all watched the development of the situation. Seeing that Deputy General Su Tiangao and Tianzong Haowei were both dead, these martial practitioners of the law enforcement group felt a chill in their hearts. They couldn't help but feel a little nervous. They didn't know if Yu Xiuwu had seen their intention to help Tianzong Haowei. Of course, there were only a few martial practitioners of the law enforcement group who wanted to help Tianzong Haowei escape. Most martial practitioners were still on Yu Xiuwu's side. General, the Tianqin Eldest Prince's personal guard legion is coming. At this moment, a martial practitioner of the law enforcement group rushed over from the south and brought bad news. Retreat. Hearing this, Yu Xiuwu didn't hesitate and directly gave the order to retreat. She knew the Tianqin Eldest Prince's personal guard legion. There were hundreds of people in it, and each of them was an expert in the 7 realms of divinity. It was impossible for the few people she led to be a match for the Tianqin Eldest Prince's personal guard legion. After Yu Xiuwu's order, everyone in the field quickly evacuated from their original places. Before leaving, they disposed of the bodies of Su Tiangao and Tianzong Haowei and covered up the traces of the battle nearby. When the Tianqin eldest prince led the crowd to chase after them, they wouldn't be able to find anything. In the largest camp of the Snow Dance Corps, Yu Shuwu was dealing with the affairs of the Corps. She had to make a detailed report to Yu Hanxin about the death of the head of the law enforcement group, Tianzong Haowei. She also needed to find someone to be the new head of the law enforcement group. There were two candidates in her mind, but one was Long Yu, and the other was Shu Chan. Neither of them originally belonged to the Snow Dance Corps. She didn't know if they were willing to join. As for the original deputy head of the law enforcement group, he wanted to be promoted to the head. Unfortunately, he only had the cultivation of the 7 realms of divinity. It would be difficult to convince the public to be the head of the law enforcement group. Long Yu and Shu Chan were different. Both of them had killed experts in the 7 realms of divinity. Among them, Long Yu only had the cultivation of the 2 realms of divinity. Once his martial arts realm was improved, he would definitely be more powerful. Shu Chan's cultivation was only at the 5 paths of divinity realm, but she had already comprehended the Azura god chains. Moreover, she had relied on this to directly kill the traitor deputy general Su Tiangao. This was enough of a deterrent to the many martial cultivators of the disciplinary squad. After writing the whole thing in a jade slip, Yu Shuwu sent the jade slip to Yu Hanxin, and then called Long Yu and Shu Chan. "Do you want to join my Snow Dance Corps?" Yu Shuwu said to the two of them with a smile, "As long as you join my Snow Dance Corps, you will immediately have official positions. The positions of the head of the law enforcement group and the head of the patrol group are still vacant. These are the positions of thousands of people." "Sorry, I have no intention of joining the Corps." Long Yu directly shook his head and refused. If he joined the Snow Dance Corps, he would have a lot of opportunities to fight. But those were group battles, which were not in line with Long Yu's idea of gaining experience. What he needed was an opportunity to act alone. But it was different for Shu Chan. "I choose to join." A firm look flashed in Shu Chan's eyes. Chapter 647. Hearing that Long Yu and Shu Chan had made completely different choices, Yu Shuwu smiled slightly. "I guess that would be the answer. So, Shu Chan, after you join the Snow Dance Corps, you will temporarily be the head of the law enforcement team. As for the specific appointment notice, you will have to wait for Lady Yu Hanxin to evaluate you according to your achievements." "Okay." Shu Chan nodded and did not object. She just wanted to kill as many minions of the Tianqin dynasty as she could. She was not interested in what position she would take. In addition, the head of the Freedom Corps, Jiang Yixing, seems to have a special liking for you. If you're the head of the law enforcement team, the Freedom Corps will be more obedient. As Yu Shuwu spoke, she turned her head to look at Long Yu. "As for Long Yu, what are your plans next?" "I'm going back to the North Snow Imperial City," Long Yu said truthfully. Then, he glanced at Shu Chan. "Do you want to leave the Azura ancient palace here? Or should I take it back?" Shu Chan thought for a moment. "You take it back. We have gained a lot this time. Don't forget my Azura mansion when you go back." "Don't worry about that." Long Yu nodded. For him, the Heavenly Mandate Manor was undoubtedly more important, but the Azura mansion was equally important to him. After all, it was the only ally of the Heavenly Mandate Manor in the North Snow Imperial City. This time, Long Yu had obtained a lot of cultivation resources, from weapons to elixirs, to martial arts techniques, to divine runes. It was enough to make a qualitative leap in the strength of more than 200 people. Shu Chan also had a lot of credit. Of course, Long Yu would not take it all for himself. He would definitely give a part of it to the martial arts practitioners of the Azura Mansion. The Heavenly Mandate Manor was full of friends and relatives that Long Yu had met on the Heavenly Mandate Island. The Azura Mansion was full of talented young martial arts practitioners who had escaped from the Azura Prefecture. At the moment, there was no doubt that the Azura Manor was much stronger. However, that might not be the case in the future. That was because the many martial arts cultivators in the Heavenly Mandate Manor were not bad. They only lacked cultivation resources. The most important thing was that the Heavenly Mandate Manor had many more people than the Azura Manor. "I wonder if General Hui Yuan Bai and his men have arrived." Long Yu thought, and soon said goodbye to Yu Xiuwu and Shu Chan. Next, there was only the battle between the Snowdance Corps and the Tianqin Divine Wing Corps. Moreover, the Tianqin dynasty's plan to frame Long Yu and Shu Chan had been seen through. Perhaps the Tianqin dynasty would soon retreat. One must know that the Ice God clan's exotic beasts in Ruoshui County had been repelled. Yu Hanqin would be able to free herself and come to Sky Mist County very soon. Once Yu Hanqin arrived, the Tianqin Divine Wing Legion would definitely suffer a great defeat, so the Tianqin Crown Prince would definitely retreat in a short period of time. Therefore, Long Yu was too lazy to care about the things here. It was better to hurry back to the North Snow Imperial City. In the Azura Ancient Palace, not only were tens of thousands of Ice God clan's exotic beasts sealed, but also stored all the gains of Long Yu and Shu Chan. These gains included the weapons and elixirs seized from the enemies killed along the way, as well as all the things obtained from the Shadow Trace Treasure Vault. As for the gains in the Azura Abyss and Death Valley, as well as the many resources Long Yu obtained from Prince Yunwan, they all belonged to Long Yu and were stored in the storage space of the Void Spirit Dragon Blade. Just 100,000 Shinbi was a great fortune. However, this fortune could not be revealed casually. Otherwise, he would be implicated in Prince Cloud's death. As long as Long Yu did not give himself away, no matter how many people from the Cloud Empire came, they would not be able to find out that this matter was related to Long Yu. After all, Prince Yunwan was killed by the Ice God clan's exotic beasts. Even if they found the remains of Prince Yunwan, they would not be able to find out that this matter was related to Long Yu and Shu Chan regarding this. Long Yu was very relieved. He could finally swagger back to the North Snow Imperial City. Even though Long Yu rode the invisible Azura Ancient Palace, it still took him 3 days and 3 nights to travel from the Sky Mist County to the North Snow Imperial City. This flying speed was related to his own martial arts realm. If Long Yu could step into the King Path secret territory, he would be able to cover such a long distance in less than a day. Long Yu first went to the Heavenly Mandate Manor outside the North Snow Imperial City. Outside the North Snow Imperial City, there were hundreds of manors of various sizes. One of them was the Heavenly Mandate Manor that Yu Hanqin had arranged for Long Yu. Among these hundreds of manors, almost all the masters of the manor were martial arts masters of the King Path secret realm. Therefore, when Long Yu led the people of the Heavenly Mandate Island to the Heavenly Mandate Manor, it immediately aroused the dissatisfaction of many martial arts cultivators of the North Snow Dynasty. This group of refugees from the Tianqin Dynasty, most of them were only in the Heavenly Being secret realm, and some were even in the True Spirit secret realm. Even the strongest was only in the low-level Theurgy secret realm. How could they have the ability to occupy a manor? Because this was arranged by Yu Hanqin, no one dared to say anything for a while. But as time passed, more and more gossip about the Heavenly Mandate Manor was spread in the North Snow Imperial City. Even the people in the Heavenly Mandate Manor would be pointed at by others as soon as they left the vicinity of the manor. When they went out to buy something, they would be deliberately harassed and even forced to buy it at double the price. At this time, how much money was there in the Heavenly Mandate Manor? There was not a single Shinbi. As for the North Snow coins, they had to sell some useless elixirs and weapons to barely get some. Such hard-earned money was forced to buy things at double the price. It was not hard to imagine how serious a blow it was to the Heavenly Mandate Manor. However, under the leadership of Hong Yu, they managed to survive this difficult period. Although Hong Yu did not have the highest martial arts cultivation in the Heavenly Mandate Manor, she was in charge of the defense matrix in the Heavenly Mandate Manor. Moreover, she was appointed by Long Yu, so she was in charge of the entire Heavenly Mandate Manor. When Long Yu returned, Hong Yu was supervising the planting of herbs in the north corner of the manor. In the Heavenly Mandate Manor, fertile soil was not uncommon, so Hong Yu came up with a way to make money. She planted herbs, then used these herbs to make elixirs and sold them. Now, in the Heavenly Mandate Manor, there were many alchemists, and it was not a problem for them to make some low-level elixirs. However, low-level elixirs could not be sold for much money. Hong Yu, Long Yu let the Azura ancient palace float invisibly over the entire heavenly mandate manor, outside the defense matrix. Then, he landed alone in the vast herb garden and saw the beautiful woman, Hong Yu, who was busy directing the people. Hong Yu was originally the great palace lord of the Glazed Moon Palace on the heavenly mandate continent. She was also the subordinate that the Azura king had arranged on the heavenly mandate island to observe the situation of the entire floating island. Therefore, she was very good at management. Now, in the heavenly mandate manor, there were hundreds of female cultivators from the Glazed Moon Palace who obeyed Hong Yu's orders. This was undoubtedly the largest force in the heavenly mandate manor. Villa Lord, you are back. Hong Yu looked up and saw Long Yu descending from the sky. Her mature and beautiful face could not help but show joy, and she shouted, "Villa Lord?" When Long Yu heard this title, he was quite surprised. Then he smiled and said, "What do you mean by calling me Villa Lord? If you must be a Villa Lord, you are more suitable to be the Villa Lord. At best, I'm just a housekeeper." Hong Yu showed a sweet smile and walked slowly toward Long Yu with the third palace lord, Qi Yun, and the fourth palace lord, Ziling. The three of them happened to be supervising the women of the Glazed Moon Palace to plant the herbs together. They did not expect to see Long Yu coming back, and they all looked happy. Since the day the Villa Lord was established, he has not been in the manor for nearly half a year. Long Yu asked, "Villa Lord, you are busy. We all know that if it were not for you, so many of us would have lost our lives. How could we have the nerve to occupy the position of Villa Lord?" Hong Yu covered her mouth and chuckled. "Forget it. Let's not talk about this." Long Yu waved his hand and changed the topic. "How is the manor recently? How is the situation?" "The situation is okay, but the development prospects are not optimistic." Speaking of this, Hong Yu's mature and beautiful face showed a touch of worry. "During the time you were not here, the people of the heavenly mandate manor were looked down upon by others when they went out. Let's not talk about this for now. After all, it does not affect our development. More importantly, the North Snow Imperial Capital Grand Gathering is coming soon. At that time, if the heavenly mandate manor does not have any major development, I am afraid it will be difficult to keep the position of the manor. North Snow Imperial Capital Grand Gathering." Long Yu frowned when he heard this. He had never heard of such a thing. Seeing the doubt in Long Yu's eyes, the quiet and tranquil fourth palace mistress Si Ling explained, "The Imperial Capital Grand Banquet is a tradition of the North Snow Empire. Every year, after the cold lotus fruit auction ends, the Imperial Capital Grand Banquet will be held. At the very beginning, the main purpose of this grand gathering was to celebrate the results of the auction of the icy lotus fruit. Furthermore, the wealth obtained from the auction would be distributed to the various large forces within the North Snow Royal Capital as rewards. This included over 100 manors and the various large forces within the royal capital. The main content of the Imperial Capital Grand Gathering was the competition between the hundreds of forces. The major forces would send out their younger generation to compete on the same stage. Finally, according to the results of the competition, the cold lotus fruit would be distributed to the three forces with the best performance. But now, the Imperial Capital Grand Gathering has become an event for the hundreds of forces near the North Snow Imperial Capital to compete with each other. The North Snow Emperor has added more rewards on top of the wealth obtained from the auction of the cold lotus fruit. He has also set a rule for the Imperial Capital Grand Gathering. That is, the three forces that rank at the bottom will be banned. Banned? Long Yu was shocked when he heard this. In other words, just like the previous owner of our heavenly mandate manor, they will be stripped of their manor territory and used to reward other martial arts cultivators. Third Palace Lord Qi Yun, who had a fiery temper, said hatefully, "Right now, many people outside are saying that our heavenly mandate manor will definitely rank at the bottom this year. When the time comes, we will have to give this place to others. We have such a large place, but we don't have a cultivator from the secret realm of the Emperor Path. It will indeed attract jealousy." Chapter 648. After returning to the heavenly mandate manor, Long Yu woke up Man Exine, who was still unconscious, and brought him out. Man Exen, who had finally stepped into the secret plane of divinity, now had the inheritance of the stormy demonic blade. He also had the ability to fight against cultivators of 4 or even 5 levels of the divinity plane. Now, in the entire heavenly mandate manner, apart from Long Yu, who was in the divine secret realm, only Man Xin was in the divine secret realm. The others were all in the celestial being's secret realm. In the environment of the North Snow dynasty, they seemed too weak. The many cultivation resources that Long Yu brought back this time were used to train everyone and improve the overall combat ability of the heavenly mandate manner. It was basically impossible for cultivators of the secret plane of divinity to appear in the heavenly mandate manner in a short period of time. However, if the Imperial Capital event was attended by the younger generation, then the Heavenly Mandate Sacred Institute should not be at the bottom. Now, Long Yu could challenge at least 6 cultivators of the divinity plane alone. If it was a sneak attack, he could even kill 7 cultivators of the divinity plane. He was definitely outstanding among the younger generation and could not be at the bottom. Of course, right now, Long Yu did not know the specific rules of the Imperial Capital event. But no matter what, he just needed to improve the overall strength of the Heavenly Mandate manner. Since there were still 3 months until the Imperial Capital event, Long Yu could make good use of this time. Hong Yu, gather everyone to the central hall of the manor. I have something to arrange. Long Yu said to Hong Yu. Hong Yu nodded and turned to inform everyone else. Taking advantage of this time, Long Yu counted the total number of people in the Heavenly Mandate manor. Compared to the people in the Shura manor, who were all young geniuses participating in the Shura selection, the people in the Heavenly Mandate manor were much more complicated. First was the people of the Jintian clan. They were led by the clan leader, by Yunzong. There were 5 elders: Yu Shengshi, Li Bufan, Yu Shuiyin, Bu Feng, Yan Huan, and a group of thousands of Jintian clan disciples, including Ling Han, Ling Yue, and Lu Guanming. This group of people had just been released by Long Yu from the ancient Dragon Bone Tower. After all, the Jintian clan could not stay in the ancient Dragon Bone Tower forever. They would eventually have to return to the outside world to develop. Among the people of the Jintian clan, more than 20 of them were in the celestial realm, while the rest were only in the true spirit realm. Although there were many of them, their overall strength was extremely weak. Following them were the hundreds of female disciples of Glaze Moon Palace. All of them were experts above the sky being realm. They were led by the 1st Palace Lord Hong Yu, the 3rd Palace Lord Qi Yun, and the 4th Palace Lord Ziling. The 3 Palace Lords were all at the peak of the sky being realm and heavenly tribulation realm. Although the Glaze Moon Palace only had 100 people, their overall strength was much stronger than the Jintian clan. The 3rd force was the Feng clan of Great Tang. The Feng clan lord, Feng Chang'e, clansman Feng Yao, Feng Haofeng, Feng Xiaofei, Feng Yusin, as well as Lu Yuan, Shi Yingwu, and the others who had joined the Feng clan. There were also more than 40 disciples of the Feng clan. Although they were few in number, their overall strength was not weaker than the Jintian clan. These 3 forces were the most powerful forces in the Heavenly Mandate manner. In addition, there were hundreds of disciples of the Ice clan led by Tang Qin, Mo Shanjian, Mo Feng Ming, and Ling Long Yu from the Mo clan, as well as Chu Xian and Chu Huang from the Chu clan of Great Tang. There were also disciples of Yellow Sand City, Yi Luan and He Qin Xue, who had come with Long Yu. Bei Yuyao and Do Zicheng were also considered part of the Heavenly Mandate manner. Although everyone had come to a new environment and had a new beginning, and they had integrated into the Heavenly Mandate manner as a whole, there was still a clear gap between them. Long Yu had asked Hong Yu to gather everyone. He did not want to directly distribute the resources obtained this time to everyone. Instead, he wanted to first disorganize everyone and redistribute them among the major organizations. Previously, Hong Yu was in charge of the Heavenly Mandate manner, and the others were fighting on their own. It was difficult to manage many things. However, after Long Yu returned this time, he wanted to reorganize the entire Heavenly Mandate manner. This was not because Long Yu wanted to act arbitrarily and was ready to become a manor lord, but because it was necessary for the development of the members of the Heavenly Mandate Manor. Of course, there was no need for Long Yu to think too much about the specific matters. Hong Yu had already arranged everything for him. When Long Yu returned, Hong Yu handed a jade scroll to Long Yu. This jade scroll recorded how the Heavenly Mandate Manor should be reorganized in the future. Long Yu glanced at it and found that what was recorded in it was to his liking. He made some slight changes and agreed to the reorganization plan in this jade scroll. The reason why they had to wait for Long Yu to return was that Hong Yu's words alone were not enough to control all the people in the Heavenly Mandate Manor. If there was anyone who could make all the members of the Heavenly Mandate Manor obedient, there was no doubt that it was Long Yu. Even Shura Princess Shu Chan would not be able to do anything. Long Yu sat in the central hall and waited, casually looking around. The former owner of this manor really knew how to enjoy himself. Long Yu couldn't help but think as he looked at his surroundings. The central hall of the manor was open air. Around the central hall, there were flowers and trees surrounding 4 clear lakes. Birds were chirping and flowers were fragrant. The scenery was extremely good. To the north and east of the central hall, there were many residential houses surrounded by flowers and birds, rockeries, and streams. There were also various spirit-gathering matrices. The environment was excellent for both leisure and cultivation. Of course, the effect of these matrices that gathered the spirit chi of heaven and earth was certainly not as good as the one that Azura King built for Shu Chan, but it was better than nothing. To the west of the central hall was a series of small hills. On these hills, there were some buildings. These buildings were not used for living. Instead, they were used to create battle weapons for weaponsmiths, as well as to store the materials needed to refine battle weapons. To the south of the central hall, there was, of course, an alchemy room. Both the weapon refinery room and the alchemy room were built very well. All kinds of facilities were in place, and they played a vital role in the future development of the Heavenly Mandate Manor. The basic idea of Hong Yu's reorganization was to divide the people in the Heavenly Mandate Manor according to their talents and abilities. Among them, the weapon refiners and alchemy masters were separated. Other than them, there were ordinary combat personnel. There was also an elite group. No matter what important tasks needed to be carried out, the elite group could be sent to carry out. The weapon refiners and alchemy masters were easy to understand. As long as they had the talent to become a weapon refiner or alchemy master, they would be divided into these 2 groups. From now on, they would specialize in making weapons and elixirs in the Heavenly Mandate Manor. This was the cornerstone of the Heavenly Mandate Manor's development. As for the elite combat group, Hong Yu suggested that the number of people should not be too large, but the key was to have loyalty and strong combat ability. This put Long Yu in a difficult position. Right now, in the Heavenly Mandate Manor, only he and Man Xin were capable of fighting, weren't they? The others had not even reached the secret plane of divinity. Let's first divide everyone into 4 groups. After 3 months, we will see how much their martial arts realm has improved, and then we will select the elites to form the elite combat group. Long Yu's idea was also supported by Hong Yu. In a short while, the entire open-air central hall was filled with thousands of people. They stood in front of Long Yu in a rather orderly manner, and there was no noise. This scene surprised Long Yu. He had originally thought that with so many people arranged in a disorderly manner, it would be very chaotic. He did not expect that everyone was so orderly. Everyone, today I, Long Yu, am back, and I have brought back a lot of cultivation resources for everyone. Long Yu narrowed his eyes as he slowly said, "However, I don't want to waste these cultivation resources and randomly distribute them to everyone. Therefore, if you want to obtain these cultivation resources, it will depend on everyone's performance." Although everyone in the Heavenly Mandate Manor admired Long Yu, if Long Yu wanted to completely manage these more than 1,000 people, he still had to come up with a way to tempt them. Otherwise, it would be hard to guarantee that some people would not listen and cause trouble. Sure enough, as soon as Long Yu said this, most of the martial arts practitioners in the field began to breathe rapidly, and their eyes lit up. During the time they came to the North Snow Imperial City, the people in the Heavenly Mandate Manor were despised, bullied, and ridiculed wherever they went. They had enough of this. It was not that they did not have the talent for cultivation, it was just that they did not have enough cultivation resources on the heavenly Mandate Island. However, even if they came to the divine martial world outside the heavenly Mandate Island, without background and strength, it was tantamount to a fool's dream to want more cultivation resources. Many people could not even find others to form a team with when they went out to hunt exotic beasts. It was really because the martial arts practitioners who came out of the heavenly Mandate Manor were too despised. In the territory of the North Snow Empire, there were two stable and indestructible transmission channels for exotic beasts, located between two mountains in the east and west of the North Snow Empire. In these two mountains, there would always be endless exotic beasts appearing, but because of the suppression of the transmission channels, there would not be exotic beasts of the Emperor Realm or the Emperor Realm appearing. Many of the martial arts practitioners in the Jianghu in the North Snow Empire like to go to these two mountains to hunt exotic beasts. From there, they could obtain things from the exotic beasts, and there might be valuable things. These two mountains were the biggest source of wealth for the martial arts practitioners in the Jianghu in the North Snow Empire. However, for the people in the Heavenly Mandate Manor, going to these two places to hunt exotic beasts was tantamount to courting death, because the weakest exotic beasts were in the celestial being's secret realm, which was equivalent to most of them. If they encountered an exotic beast in the secret realm of divinity, none of them would be able to resist it. There were even some members of the Heavenly Mandate Manor who formed teams and went to the two mountains to hunt exotic beasts. Unfortunately, until now, there had been no news from them. One could imagine that in order to improve their strength, everyone in the Heavenly Mandate Manor was now racking their brains, but they could not think of a good way. Chapter 649. Long Yu raised his hand, signaling for everyone to be quiet. Everyone quickly stopped talking and looked at Long Yu, wanting to hear what he was going to say next. I will distribute some of these cultivation resources first. As for the rest, we will store them for now. In the future, anyone who contributes to the Heavenly Mandate Manor or achieves a breakthrough in the plane of martial arts will receive more cultivation resources. Long Yu explained the general distribution of cultivation resources, then said, "Next, I will set up a few major organizations in the Heavenly Mandate Manor to develop the Heavenly Mandate Manor together and make it stronger. First, the Weapon Refinery Pavilion. All weapon refiners must join the Weapon Refinery Pavilion, and Qi Yun will be the pavilion master. Does anyone have any objections?" Long Yu looked at Qi Yun, the third palace lord of the Glass Moon Palace, and nodded at her. Then he looked around. Qi Yun, the third palace lord, was a weapon refiner herself, and a Tribulation Realm weapon refiner at that. Her skill in forging weapons was definitely the best among everyone in the Heavenly Mandate Manor. No one would have any objections to her being the pavilion master of the Weapon Refinery Pavilion. What surprised Long Yu was that Lu Guanming, the disciple of Yu Shuiyun of the Jintian clan, had also learned how to forge weapons. This person had the talent to forge weapons. So he joined the Weapon Refinery Pavilion with Wenlin, a middle-aged man from the North Sea nation of Mandate Island, and was responsible for forging weapons for the Heavenly Mandate Manor. There were 22 members in the Weapon Refinery Pavilion, and more than 10 of them were female disciples of the Glass Moon Palace. They would be the main source of weapons for the Heavenly Mandate Manor in the future. A force of 1,000 people could have 22 weapon refiners, which was quite a good ratio. The problem they faced now was that there was no one in the Weapon Refinery Pavilion who could forge weapons well enough. Even Qi Yun, the third palace lord, could only forge earth-grade weapons. Even if she had enough materials, she had no experience in forging heaven-grade or even desolate-grade weapons. Her success rate was extremely low. If General Hui Yuanbai comes, I can recommend you to him as his disciple. General Hui Yuanbai is a 7-Daos Divine Realm alchemist, so a heaven-grade warrior is nothing to him. As long as he has enough materials, he should be able to create a great desolate-grade warrior. Long Yu said to Qi Yun, "Thank you for your recommendation, Villa Master Long." Qi Yun's eyes lit up, and she thanked him sincerely. Originally, she felt that her weapon refinement technique had reached a bottleneck. If she relied on herself, she did not know how long it would take for her to break through this bottleneck. However, if he had a strong enough teacher to guide him, then it would undoubtedly be very important for him to improve his weapon forging skills. Perhaps he would be able to start forging heaven-grade combat weapons very soon. Within the territory of the North Snow Empire, an Earth-grade combat weapon was the most basic combat weapon. No matter how poor a martial artist was, he or she would at least have an Earth-grade combat weapon. It would be a great breakthrough for the Heavenly Mandate Manor if they could make a heaven-level weapon. Next is the Pill Refining Hall. Long Yu continued to assign people. A total of 45 people formed the Pill Refining Hall, which was responsible for making all kinds of elixirs for the Heavenly Mandate Manor. Elixirs that could condense the spiritual chi of heaven and earth for cultivation, restore the chi consumed in the body, heal injuries, and so on. Alchemists were the foundation for the development of a force, and they were even more important than weapon refiners. After all, combat weapons were items that could be used by martial artists, and the demand for them was not particularly high. However, elixirs were consumables and the demand was very high. If there were no alchemists, the Heavenly Mandate Manor would not be able to afford the cost of buying elixirs. Ziling, the fourth palace lord of the Glazed Moon Palace, happened to be an alchemist. Ziling will be the Hall Lord of the Pill Refining Hall, and Elder Shi and Finyu Xian will be the Deputy Hall Lords. The 45 of you are members of the Pill Refining Hall. In addition to cultivation, you should practice your alchemy skills. The elixirs of the Heavenly Mandate Manor will all depend on you in the days to come. Long Yu said to the crowd, Villa Master Long, something is wrong. Someone below suddenly asked, and actually called the Manor Lord. Just now you only called out a total of 44 alchemists. Where did the 45 come from? Because I am also an alchemist. Long Yu smiled. Of course, he was also an alchemist. If he had time, he was more willing to go to the alchemy room to refine some elixirs. After all, he had many kinds of elixirs on him. In addition, his martial arts realm was the highest in the entire Heavenly Mandate Manor, so it was best for him to study elixirs. After Long Yu said this, the crowd was relieved. Many people secretly marveled. They did not expect Villa Master Long to be an alchemist. Impressive. Han Yu will be the captain of the Manor's law enforcement team, with 100 people under her command. She is responsible for handling all the trivial matters in the manor and supervising everything in the manor. Long Yu continued to make arrangements. Nothing could be accomplished without rules. Since they wanted to develop the Heavenly Mandate Manor as a major force, they had to set some rules. The rules were not complicated. Han Yu, as the original palace lord of the Glazed Moon Palace, could handle it alone. With Hong Yu's strongest martial arts realm, no one dared to resist the law enforcement in the Heavenly Mandate Manor. In addition to Hong Yu, Long Yu also assigned Feng Xiaofei and Feng Haofeng to the law enforcement team. He made them deputy captains of the law enforcement team and assisted Hong Yu in handling affairs. The 100 members of the law enforcement team were personally selected by Hong Yu. Long Yu did not ask. Next, let's start to arrange the 4 major martial armies of the Heavenly Mandate Manor. After Long Yu made the arrangements, he prepared to arrange the combat personnel. For a force, weapon refiners and alchemists were the cornerstones of development, and combat personnel were the guarantee for the continued existence of a force. Without combat personnel, it would be useless no matter how many weapon refiners and alchemists there were. Only with enough combat strength could the whole force become stronger. The purpose of the existence of weapon refiners and alchemists was to make all combat personnel stronger. The combat personnel of the Heavenly Mandate Manor are mainly divided into 4 major martial armies: the Azure Dragon Army, the White Tiger Army, the Xuanwu Army, and the Vermilion Bird Army. In addition, there are the personal guards of the manor. As Long Yu spoke, he glanced at the audience. Next, I will arrange the commanders and deputy commanders of the 5 major martial armies. More than 1,000 people in the entire Heavenly Mandate Manor listened attentively. They knew that what Long Yu said next would determine what kind of life these people would have and whose orders they would follow. Long Yu had already thought about the arrangements for the 4 major martial armies. Now he just needed to announce it step by step. There was nothing much to say about the personal guards of the manor. They were mainly used to maintain peace and order. However, the personal guards were directly commanded by Long Yu. They were mainly used to arrange the remaining female disciples of the Lioli Moon Palace. Long Yu thought for a moment and told them about the personal guards. For now, there are only 60 members of the personal guards. They will follow me. Long Yu, I want to join the personal guards. Suddenly, a crisp female voice sounded from below. It was Lu Yuan, a young girl in a tight black skirt. She was staring at Long Yu with a complicated expression. Her voice silenced the entire place. Many people glanced at Lu Yuan. Now many people in the Heavenly Mandate Manor knew that Lu Yuan was interested in Long Yu. It was a pity that Long Yu didn't seem to appreciate it. Now that Lu Yuan offered to join the personal guards, everyone wanted to see how Long Yu would respond. Okay, to everyone's surprise, Long Yu didn't object. Instead, he nodded his head in agreement. This made Lu Yuan happy. For her, she didn't need anything with Long Yu. It was enough to be closer to Long Yu. Next, arrange for the Vermilion Bird Army. Long Yu didn't give too much time for others to think. He continued to arrange the personnel. The Vermilion Bird Army was made up of female cultivators. Han Yu was temporarily the commander because no one else could control the situation like Han Yu. In the Vermilion Bird Army, there was Elder Yin Huanma from the Jintian clan, Disciple Ling Yue from the Jintian clan, Disciple He Qinxue from Yellow Sand Sky City, Sect Leader Tang Qin of the Ice Sect, and mother and daughter Chu Huang and Chu Xan from the Chu family of the Tang Empire. In addition, there was Feng Yao from the Feng family, Ling Longyu from the Mo family, and the granddaughter of Shi Hasong, Shi Yingwu. Ling Longyu was originally a disciple of the Glass Moon Palace. She was sent to the Tang Empire to join the Mo family when she was young. She was responsible for monitoring the Hell Demon Seed in Lu Yuan's father, Lu Qing. Lu Yuan's father, Lu Qing, was still being tortured by the Hell Demon Seed. But 3 months ago, the Hell Demon Seed suddenly disappeared, and he returned to normal. No one in the Heavenly Mandate Manor knew why. Now that Long Yu thought about it, it was probably because he controlled the Azura Sacred Tree and killed the Duke of Ghost Evil, which led to this situation. There were more than 300 people in the Vermilion Bird Army. Han Yu was temporarily the commander, and the position of deputy commander was yet to be decided. It all depended on who could improve faster in the next 3 months. Next was the Azure Dragon Army. Long Yu's idea was to make the Azure Dragon Army the trump card of the Heavenly Mandate Manor, so he directly made Man Xian the commander of the Azure Dragon Army, leading more than 300 people. Man Xian was the son of a general of the ancient Meng Kingdom. He was very good at leading troops, and he had also entered the secret plane of divinity. His real strength could fight against 4 or even 5 divinity realm cultivators. No one dared to object to making Man Xian the commander of the Azure Dragon Army. In the Azure Dragon Army, Long Yu did not arrange for anyone else, not even a deputy commander. He only let Man Xian lead more than 300 disciples of the Jintian clan in the secret plane of true spirit alone. Long Yu believed that with enough cultivation resources, Man Xian would definitely improve the strength of the entire Azure Dragon Army quickly. Man Xian was not dissatisfied with this. His only request was for Qihua to be the deputy commander when he returned. Now that Qihua was out training, no one knew where he went. Regarding Man Xian's request, Long Yu had no reason to refuse. Chapter 650. Then came the White Tiger Army and the Xuanwu Army. Among them, most of the White Tiger Army were originally members of the Jinqing clan. Bai Yunzong was the commander, and Feng Chang'e was the deputy commander. Together, they led the White Tiger Army, which had a total of more than 300 people. The Xuanwu Army was made up of many people. The commander was Yi Luan, and the deputy commander was Feng Chang'e. Most of the Xuanwu Army were disciples of the Feng family and the Ice Sect, including Mo Shanjian and Mo Fengming. There were more than 300 people in the Xuanwu Army. Disciples of the Jintian clan were selected to make up for the shortage. Azure Dragon, Xuanwu, Vermilion Bird, and White Tiger were the names that Long Yu came up with. The reason was that he was too lazy to think of the names of the armies. After all, it was just a code. After the arrangements were made, some people were satisfied, and some were not. But overall, it was much better than before. At least there was a unified arrangement. Next, the commanders and deputy commanders of the major organizations and armies will stay. The rest of you can go. Long Yu waved his hand and let everyone go. Next, it was time to distribute the cultivation resources. Clearly, Long Yu would not personally distribute the cultivation resources to everyone. Since the division of the Martial Cultivator Corps had been established, he would let the respective corps commanders of the Martial Cultivator Corps distribute the cultivation resources. In the end, there were 13 people left in the Central Hall. They were Pavilion Master Qi Yun and Deputy Pavilion Master Lu Guanming of the Weapon Refinery Pavilion, Lord Ziling of the Alchemy Hall, Deputy Elder Shi and Fengyu Xian, Captain Han Yu of the Law Enforcement Team, Deputy Feng Xiaofei, and Feng Haofeng. Han Yu is also the commander of the Vermilion Bird Army. There was no one else in the Vermilion Bird Army except Han Yu. It will be no problem for Han Yu to make arrangements. Commander Yiluan of the Xuanwu Army, Deputy Feng Chang'e of the Xuanwu Army, Commander by Yun Zong of the White Tiger Army, and Deputy Commander Feng Chang'e of the White Tiger Army, Commander Man Xian of the Azure Dragon Army. As for Deputy Commander Qi Hua, he had gone out to train and had not returned yet. From now on, you will be the mainstay of the Heavenly Mandate Manor. But I have something to say first. Everything today is only temporary. What happens in the future depends on your hard work. Long Yu said sternly to the 13 of them. Now, everyone's task is to work hard to raise the martial Dao realm of your subordinates, including those from the Alchemy Hall and the Weapon Forging Pavilion. For the time being, your main goal is to raise your martial Dao realm. Alchemy and weapon forging, there is no need to rush. 3 months later, according to the degree of improvement in your martial arts realm, you will be assigned a new position. Everyone must keep this in mind. Long Yu only said these words to motivate the crowd. He believed that once they had enough cultivation resources, the martial arts plane of the people in the Heavenly Mandate Manor would definitely increase very quickly. In fact, it wouldn't be strange for there to be more experts in the secret realm of divinity to appear. Next, these are the cultivation resources for you, mainly including elixirs and weapons. Long Yu then took out some elixirs and weapons of the heaven and earth grade from the Azura Ancient Palace. He said these elixirs and weapons were previously stored in the Ice Heaven Valley of the Azura County. Now, they're distributed to everyone. It should be enough for now. Long Yu and Shu Chan had obtained many weapons and elixirs of the Heaven and Earth grade from the Weapon Pavilion and the Elixir Pavilion in the Ice Heaven Valley. Long Yu divided them into 2 parts. One part was used to arm the Heavenly Mandate Manor, and the other was reserved for Shu Chan's Azure Mansion. However, the things obtained in the Ice Heaven Valley were relatively low-end and might not be useful to the young geniuses in the Azure Mansion. Therefore, Long Yu made the decision to distribute most of the things obtained in the Ice Heaven Valley to the Heavenly Mandate Manor. Anyway, Long Yu had a lot of things with him. When they arrived at the Azura Mansion, there would be more suitable things for them. Now, Long Yu took out not only the cultivation resources obtained from the Ice Heaven Valley, but also the gains he had obtained from killing those martial arts practitioners in Jianghu along the way. The Great Desolate Level Medium-Grade Combat Weapon, the black gold scythe that originally belonged to the Duke of Ghost Evil. Long Yu took out the scythe and glanced at everyone present. He found that everyone was stunned. Obviously, they did not expect that Long Yu would take out this powerful, Great Desolate Level Medium-Grade Combat Weapon. Hong Yu, this combat weapon is for you. Long Yu threw the black gold scythe to Hong Yu. The black gold scythe was a powerful combat weapon used by the Ghost Evil King. It was a Great Desolate Level Medium-Grade Combat Weapon, worth 1,000 divine coins. This was a huge wealth that could tempt Su Tiangao, the Deputy General of the Snowdance Corps, to become a traitor. The black gold scythe was useless to Long Yu. Of course, he would give it away. Now, that Hong Yu was a very important figure in the Heavenly Mandate manner, he certainly could not have a convenient combat weapon. If I take such a good combat weapon, it will be useless for the upcoming Imperial Capital event. Hong Yu's eyes flashed with a complicated look. She looked at Long Yu and said, "After all, I am over 30 years old and cannot participate in the Imperial Capital event to help the Heavenly Mandate manner. Long Yu, are you sure that you want to give it to me?" It was absolutely a lie to say that she did not want a great desolate level medium-grade combat weapon. But for this, Hong Yu still felt that she needed to explain, lest Long Yu would regret it. "It doesn't matter. You take it. I have a lot of combat weapons, and I will have more in the future. Everyone will have one. It's just a matter of time." Long Yu waved his hand and did not care at all. He directly gave the black gold scythe to Hong Yu. And this ice longsword, also a great desolate level medium-grade combat weapon. "Bai Yunzong, take it." Long Yu took out another ice longsword, also a great desolate level medium-grade combat weapon. He threw it to Bai Yunzong, the commander of the White Tiger Army, who was the former clan lord of the Jintian clan. Bai Yunzong never dreamed that he would have such a day. When he was in the Heavenly Mandate continent, even in the Tang Empire, he was regarded as a frustrated martial arts practitioner. But because he met Long Yu, he had the cultivation conditions he had today. Not only did he not die in the disaster of the Heavenly Mandate Island, but he was rescued by Long Yu and brought to the Divine Battle World. Now, not only did he get better cultivation conditions, but he could also get a great desolate level medium-grade combat weapon. You are indeed the son of Long Zitian. Long Yu, I believe that if Brother Long knew that you have such achievements today, he would not be disappointed. Bai Yunzong took the ice long sword without any nonsense, and could not help but sigh with emotion. Hearing this, Long Yu's eyes flashed with determination. He had not completely given up hope for his father, Long Zitian. Since the Heaven Prison Thunder Pool had directly exploded, then he could participate in the Conference of Divine Martial Emperors and find the Emperor Realm expert in the Heaven Prison Thunder Pool. According to Yuhan Xin, there should be an Emperor Realm expert who had comprehended the divine text of thunder absorbing the power of thunder and lightning in the Heaven Prison Thunder Pool. When he participated in the Conference of Divine Martial Emperors, he should have some clues, or at least he could ask about the whereabouts of Long Zitian. The great desolate level medium-grade combat weapon Long Yu took out was obtained from Bai Qing. Of course, Long Yu had already destroyed the soul imprint in it. After receiving the ice long sword, Bai Yunzong's eyes brightened. He had taken the heaven-level elixir given by Long Yu, which cured the internal injuries that had been plaguing his body. Now was the time for his martial arts realm to improve by leaps and bounds. If he obtained a great desolate level medium-grade combat weapon, it would have a great impact on his strength. Long Yu had a lot of combat weapons, far more than these. In particular, the things he got from Prince Clouds were enough to equip the entire Heavenly Mandate manor. However, he didn't dare to use these things casually because he was afraid of giving himself away and being seen by the people of the Cloud Empire. That would be troublesome. Brother Yi, this flame whip is for you. Although it is only a great desolate level low-grade combat weapon, it is still a great desolate level combat weapon. It should be useful to you. Long Yu took out a great desolate level low-grade flame whip and handed it to Yilun, the commander of the Black Tortoise Army. Yilun nodded and looked at Long Yu with determination in his eyes. Obviously, in this new cultivation environment, Yilun also wanted to become an expert. Whether it was in the Heavenly Mandate continent or the Divine Martial World, Yilun would never be willing to be under someone else. For the other people present, Long Yu gave each of them a heaven-level combat weapon. Those who did not get a great desolate-level combat weapon were not dissatisfied, because they knew that as long as they followed Long Yu, a great desolate-level combat weapon would not be a big deal. Didn't you see that even someone as powerful as the Ghost Evil County's king was killed by Long Yu, and his black gold scythe was taken away? You can also distribute these elixirs to your subordinates, so that they have enough elixirs to break through the bottleneck and break through the martial arts realm. Long Yu took out all the elixirs he got from the Ice Heaven Valley, the Dark Shadow Trace Treasure Vault, and the cultivators he killed along the way. But as usual, he did not take out the precious elixirs from Prince Cloud. These things on one hand, Long Yu wanted to keep them for himself. On the other hand, he was afraid that if they were to be randomly distributed, the people from the Cloud Empire would find them. Next is the most important thing. Everyone, listen carefully. After distributing the combat weapons and elixirs, Long Yu's expression became extremely serious. Compared to these combat weapons and elixirs, he had something even more precious, and that was the divine rune engravings. In the divine martial world, the value of the divine rune engravings was extremely high. A complete divine rune engravings was worth as much as a great desolate level medium-grade combat weapon. Even in the Shura province, there weren't many people who could comprehend a complete divine rune engravings. The Shura king's bloodline had only used up less than 30 Shura divine runes. The power of divine runes was divided into 3 levels: comprehension through copying, engraving, and comprehension through the divine rune source. In the divine martial world, there weren't many martial cultivators who could comprehend the divine rune source. Most of them comprehended it through copying or from incomplete divine runes. This was also the main reason why Long Yu was able to skip so many realms of martial arts and assassinate 7 transcendent realm cultivators. The power of divine runes that both sides comprehended was not on the same level. And the 108 death divine runes on Long Yu's body, as well as over 70 Azura divine runes, all of them were complete divine runes. Chapter 651. Long Yu ordered everyone in the heavenly mandate manner to take the divine text attribute compatibility test. The attribute stones used for the test could be bought in the North Snow Imperial City with a little North Snow coins. It was not difficult to do so. Of course, the divine text should be given to the most suitable person. Not everyone could absorb and comprehend the power within. The divine text of death was the divine text of the shadow attribute. Only martial arts practitioners who were compatible with the divine text of the shadow attribute could absorb and comprehend it. Long Yu asked everyone to calculate the divine text attribute compatibility of everyone in the heavenly mandate manner. Then, they would decide who the 108 divine text of death should belong to. There were more than 1,000 people in the heavenly mandate manner. It would not be a short time to calculate the specific situation. After giving the order, Long Yu took Hong Yu with him and prepared to walk around the North Snow Imperial City. He mainly wanted to find out the specific situation of the Imperial City's grand event. Although Long Yu was confident in himself and the people in the heavenly mandate manner, knowing oneself and knowing the enemy was the key to victory. Long Yu did not want to be unprepared. If he really came back from the bottom 3, this fief would be taken away. Without this fief, the people in the heavenly mandate manner would be homeless. The conditions for cultivation and development would be very different. All in all, Long Yu did not want to give up the heavenly mandate manner. Although Long Yu was most focused on improving his own strength, he would not ignore the life and death of his family and friends. Therefore, he must have a stable base so that he could travel outside with peace of mind. The Devil Spirit Restaurant. Soon, Long Yu and Hong Yu came to the door of a magnificent restaurant. After asking around, the two knew that the Devil Spirit Restaurant was the busiest place in the North Snow Imperial City. The people who came and were at least warriors in the secret realm of divinity. They were very well informed. However, the cost was very high. It was not a place that ordinary martial arts practitioners could afford. Let's go in and have a look. Long Yu turned his head and said to Hong Yu. Hong Yu looked embarrassed and said, Master Long, each table in the Demonic Spirit Tavern costs 100 North Snow coins. With the current financial resources of the Heavenly Mandate Manor, it takes a lot of effort to gather 100 North Snow coins. No problem. What's the ratio of Shunbi to North Snow coins? Long Yu smiled and asked. 1 Shunbi can be exchanged for 8,000 North Snow coins. For this question, Hong Yu still had a little understanding and immediately answered. The exchange rate between Shunbi and Tianqin coins was 1 Shunbi for 10,000 Tianqin coins. It seemed that Northern Snow coins were slightly more valuable than Tianqing coins, but not by much. Then we can still go in and have a seat. Long Yu smiled and took out 10 Shinbi from his pocket. He threw 9 of them to Hong Yu and said, "Take it. The Heavenly Mandate Manor needs money to develop. I don't have many assets now, so I can only take these out for the development of the manor." Long Yu had the 100,000 Shinbi he had obtained from Prince Cloud. He was a tycoon. He only gave Hong Yu 9 Shinbi, not because he was stingy, but because he didn't want to attract attention. Moreover, for the current Heavenly Mandate Manor, no amount of Shinbi would be of much use to them. At the moment, the most urgent thing for everyone in the Heavenly Mandate Manor was to improve their martial arts plane. They needed at least 100 masters in the secret realm of divinity to be able to temporarily gain a foothold in the North Snow Imperial City. Before their martial arts plane was improved, no matter how many resources they had, it was useless. For example, Prince Cloud had 100,000 Shinbi, but he was still killed by an exotic beast of the Ice God clan. If he could improve his martial arts plane and step into the Emperor realm, the result would be completely different. After receiving the 9 Shinbi from Long Yu, Hong Yu was shocked at first, but then she was overjoyed. She didn't know where Long Yu got so many assets, but this money really solved the urgent problem of the Heavenly Mandate Manor. Although it was only 9 Shinbi, it was more than 70,000 North Snow coins, enough for daily needs. Of course, now Hong Yu knew that the Heavenly Mandate Manor was not short of cultivation resources. They had battle weapons and elixirs. With so many desolate-level battle weapons, anyone could sell them for at least 100 Shinbi. But battle weapons and elixirs were the guarantee of improving one's strength. How could they sell them so easily? Now that Long Yu gave her 9 Shinbi, it was completely enough for daily needs. "Hey, isn't this Lady Hong Yu of the Heavenly Mandate Manor?" Just as the two were at the entrance of the demonic spirit restaurant, a man's mocking voice came from inside. It was extremely disgusting. Long Yu squinted his eyes and looked into the demonic spirit restaurant. He saw a martial arts cultivator with a pale face. Judging from his aura, he should be a human martial arts cultivator. His smiling face looked a bit like a man who had been sucked dry by wine and women. For Divinity Realm, Long Yu saw through the man's cultivation at a glance, but he didn't pay much attention. For Divinity Realm guys couldn't even last one move in front of him. "Hong Yu, do you know him?" Long Yu asked without turning his head. "This is the young master of the Tung Wu Manor, young master Tung Xingyun." Hong Yu's eyes flashed with disgust, but she immediately returned to normal and introduced him to Long Yu as if nothing had happened. "Oh, the Tung Wu Manor. It's the one next to our manor, right?" Long Yu came to a sudden realization. No wonder Tung Xingyun knew Hong Yu. After all, they were neighbors. It was normal for them to communicate with each other. "Lady Hong Yu, what do you think? Have you thought about my suggestion these days?" The pale-faced Tung Xingyun had a playful look on his face. He glanced at Long Yu, but did not care. Instead, he continued to look at Hong Yu and said, "As long as you pledge your allegiance to me and become my woman, our Tung Xingyun Manor will help your Heavenly Mandate Manor in the Imperial Capital Grand Meet." Hong Yu was a mature and beautiful woman, which was exactly what Tung Xingyun liked. Ever since he saw Hong Yu in the North Snow Imperial Capital, Tung Xingyun had always wanted to take Hong Yu for himself. When Tung Xingyun learned that Hong Yu was the general manager of the Heavenly Mandate Manor, he formed a plan in his mind to use the upcoming Imperial Capital Grand event to threaten Hong Yu. Hong Yu obviously didn't care about this, and she didn't tell Long Yu. She didn't expect to meet Tung Xingyun here with Long Yu. "I'm sorry, but I'll say the same thing. Young Master Tung is not my type. I can't agree to your conditions." Hong Yu rejected coldly. Tung Xingyun's face changed immediately after she said that. The 2 guards behind him stood up. "Our young Master Tung has spoken, but you don't know what's good for you. You refused several times. It seems that you think you have a backer." One of the guards, who was slightly plump, glanced at Long Yu and sneered. "This guy is Long Yu, the head of your Heavenly Mandate Manor? He's just a brat in the 2 paths of Divinity Realm. Do you think that he can protect your Heavenly Mandate Manor? Don't even dream about it. Hee hee. I'll make this brat kneel in front of my young master and beg for mercy." The other skinny man, who looked a little sinister, looked at Long Yu and laughed. He took a step forward and said, Long Yu, do you dare to fight with me? You should know that I'm just an ordinary guard in the Tongwu Manor. If you don't even have the courage to fight with me, you'd better give up the Heavenly Mandate Manor. Otherwise, it'll be too late for regrets if you lose your life in the Imperial capital. Long Yu glanced at the man and smiled faintly. You're indeed just an ordinary guard. You're only in the 5 paths of Divinity Realm. How dare you be so arrogant in the North Snow Imperial City? You've really opened my eyes. Not to mention that the other party was not in the secret realm of the King's Path. Even if a strong man in the secret realm of the King's Path came in front of Long Yu would not be afraid to confront him verbally. This was because private fights were strictly forbidden in the North Snow Imperial City. Otherwise, Yu Hanshin's guard, the Silver Fox King, would immediately lead his men to arrest the offender. Unless the two parties made a bet, the Silver Fox King would not care. That was why Tang Xingyun's guard challenged Long Yu to a fight. The conflict between the two parties in the Demonic Spirit restaurant quickly attracted many martial practitioners and demonic cultivators on the street to watch. Many martial practitioners and drinkers in the Jianghu who were drinking in the Demonic Spirit restaurant also looked down from upstairs with interest. Many people were very interested in the forces that were just assigned to the Heavenly Mandate Manor by Yu Hanshin, especially the owner of the Heavenly Mandate Manor, Long Yu. Rumor had it that he had offended Prince Yunduan, but Yu Hanshin had interceded on his behalf. It was unbelievable. Rumor had it that it was because Long Yu was talented and would be of great benefit to the development of the North Snow Empire in the future. That was why Yu Hanshin would nurture and protect him. Because of this, when Long Yu appeared at the entrance of the Demonic Spirit restaurant and had a conflict with others, he immediately attracted the attention of the surrounding people. Hee, you're making me laugh to death. You're just a kid in the 2 paths of Divinity Realm. How dare you speak arrogantly in front of me, a strong man in the 5 paths of Divinity Realm? What a joke. The thin guard sneered, and a hideous look appeared in his eyes. Do you know that in front of me, you're like a wild dog? I can tear you into pieces at any time. Long Yu, the so-called owner of the Heavenly Mandate Manor, do you dare to fight? The slightly plump guard also stood up and said provocatively to Long Yu. The two guards were both strong men in the 5 paths of Divinity Realm. For Long Yu, it was not a big deal. However, he looked around and saw a large group of people paying attention to the situation here. He thought for a while and decided to avoid the fight. It was not because he was afraid, but because there was no need to reveal his true strength before the grand event of the Imperial capital began. If they were caught off guard, the Heavenly Mandate Manor would very likely be able to break out of the encirclement in the Imperial capital and achieve a good result. But if they were to let their enemies guard against them, the Heavenly Mandate Manor would be easily crushed to pieces in the environment of the North Snow Imperial capital. No fight. Chapter 652. Hearing the word no from Long Yu's mouth, everyone present booed. However, this was not too unexpected. After all, Long Yu was only in the 2 paths of Divinity Realm. It was obvious that he would not accept the challenge of a master in the 5 paths of Divinity Realm. If Long Yu really chose to accept the challenge, it would be even more surprising. However, Long Yu was now representing the Manor Lord of the Heavenly Mandate Manor. His cowardice caused most of the people around to have more contemptuous thoughts about the manor. Even a Manor Lord only had such strength and courage, not to mention the other people in the manor. It seemed that in 3 months, the territory of the Heavenly Mandate Manor would definitely change hands. Did you see that, Lady Hong Yu? The pale Tang Xingyun looked at Long Yu with disdain. Then, he looked at Hong Yu and said, what kind of future can you have by following such a Manor Lord? You might as well come to my embrace. In the future, you might even become the wife of the Manor Lord of the Tongwu Manor. Huh. Young master, please behave yourself. Hong Yu's expression also became a bit ugly. Although she did not know how strong Long Yu was now, she knew that Long Yu's refusal of the challenge was definitely not a sign of weakness. She understood this very well. Han Yu could only choose to ignore Tang Xingyun's next rather unpleasant words. Long Yu also did not pay attention to Tang Xingyun. Tang Xingyun would not start a private fight on the street anyway. He walked straight into the Devil's Spirit restaurant with Han Yu. Hey. This is not a place where just anyone can come in. As soon as he stepped through the door of the restaurant, a young martial arts practitioner wearing the uniform of a waiter walked over and looked at Long Yu with disdain in his eyes. Just now, the scene of Long Yu refusing the challenge of Tang Xingyun's guard was seen by the waiter. This made the waiter, who was only in the celestial being realm, look down on him. The waiter thought that since the heavenly mandate manor was so weak and he had the backing of the Devil's Spirit restaurant, even if he bullied this kid would not dare to talk back. However, he was wrong, very wrong. Long Yu had avoided fighting with Tang Xingyun's guards because he did not want to reveal his true strength. However, how could Long Yu tolerate a mere Tianhua realm waiter provoking him? Then tell me, what kind of people are needed to enter this demon spirit restaurant? The corners of Long Yu's mouth curled up. He stood still and asked the waiter, this demon spirit restaurant isn't an ordinary place. If you want to come in and drink, just the table alone costs 100 North Snow dollars. The waiter looked at Long Yu with disdain and said, I heard that your heavenly mandate manor is very poor. I'm afraid it's too much for you to take out 100 North Snow coins. Don't try to impress me. Or let this young lady follow this young master of soaring mist manor. This young master won't be stingy with such a small amount of money. The waiter was also observant. As expected, young Lord Tang Xingyun, who was at the side, seemed to be enjoying the waiter's words. It was evident that he was flattered by the waiter. So, you mean, as long as you have money, you can enter this demon spirit restaurant, right? Long Yu said calmly. Then, he threw out a shunbi in his hand and said, this shunbi should be enough, right? Give me 2 pots of snow demon spirit wine. When Long Yu threw out the shunbi, the waiter's expression changed slightly. Then, his expression froze, and he subconsciously caught the shunbi. Yes. The waiter quickly grabbed the shunbi and turned around to get the wine for Long Yu and Han Yu. The Demon Spirit restaurant was considered a high-end restaurant in the North Snow Imperial City. However, Jianghu martial arts practitioners and nobles who came here would rarely take out shunbi directly. Since Long Yu could take out shunbi directly, it was obvious that he was not trying to impress them. If the Heavenly Mandate Manor was really poor, how could they have shunbi? It seems like this Long Yu has made some money recently. Many people in the Demon Spirit restaurant thought this way, but they still felt disdain towards Long Yu. They felt that this person just had a bit of dog shit luck. Maybe he got some money. In fact, 1 shunbi was not a lot, but it was enough to change people's general impression of the Heavenly Mandate Manor. Wait. Seeing that the waiter turned around to get the wine, Long Yu stopped him and said coldly, 2 pots of snow demon spirit wine are only 3,000 North Snow coins. Keep the change. You can slap yourself twice as an apology for offending me. This obviously put the waiter in a dilemma. However, Long Yu was not a kind person. Since the waiter wanted to embarrass him, Long Yu didn't mind paying him back 1,000 times. This was just a small trick. Long Yu didn't want to make a big deal out of it and make himself and the owner of the Demon Spirit restaurant unhappy. Therefore, he gave the waiter a small punishment. Hearing Long Yu's words, the waiter stopped in his tracks, but he didn't refute. Instead, he slapped himself several times without looking back. I deserve to die. I didn't recognize Mount Tai and offended Manor Lord Long. The waiter slapped him in the face with every word he said. After he finished speaking, he ran away as fast as he could, clutching the shunbi tightly in his hand. This was the biggest tip he had ever received since he started working as a waiter in the Demon Spirit restaurant. The remaining 4,000 North Snow coins was equivalent to several months of his salary. Not to mention these few slaps. Even if Long Yu asked him to beat his face until it swelled up like a pig's head, he wouldn't say a word of nonsense. Seeing how Long Yu punished the waiter, many martial cultivators in the restaurant were quite surprised by Long Yu's methods. Obviously, they didn't expect the weak Long Yu to be so strong now. One must know that the person behind the Demon Spirit restaurant was more powerful than the soaring Fog Manor. It seemed that this Long Yu was a completely fearless fellow. Unfortunately, this person only had the strength of a Daos divinity. Being so arrogant in the North Snow Imperial City, he would definitely suffer retribution very soon. Just offending the young master of the soaring fog manor, Tung Xingyun, was enough to make him suffer. Tung Xingyun watched as Long Yu dealt with the waiter. He smiled disdainfully, turned around, and left the Demon Spirit restaurant with his men. It seemed that he couldn't be bothered to tangle with a guy like Long Yu who bullies the weak and fears the strong. Long Yu and Hong Yu found 2 seats in the restaurant and sat down, listening to the conversations of the customers around them. At first, many people were talking about Long Yu, mainly about how Long Yu and Shu Chan offended Prince Yunduan in Ruoshui Commandery after he came to the North Snow Dynasty and was hunted down. This matter spread far and wide, so everyone knew that Yu Hanxin valued Long Yu and Shu Chan very much. That was why she went to Prince Yunduan to plead for them. However, after Long Yu returned, the matter of fighting against the Ice God clan in Ruoshui Commandery and being regarded as a traitor in the Snowdance Legion in Sky Mist Commandery did not spread here at all. Long Yu was quite pleased that his strength was not exposed, mainly because he told Yu Shiwu before he left that he hoped that the news of him successfully assassinating the 7 Daos Divinity Realm experts would not spread. It seemed that Yu Shiwu was quite prestigious as the commander of a large legion. So many people knew about it, but it did not spread. This made Long Yu feel a lot more at ease. One of the purposes of this trip had been achieved. At that time, Long Yu did not know about the grand meeting in the Imperial City, but he did not want his strength to be known to everyone. After he came back and learned about the grand meeting, he knew that his decision to let Yu Shiwu hide the news was not wrong. When Long Yu and Hong Yu each drank half a pot of Snow Devil Spirit wine, the topic of the Jianghu martial practitioners and the nobles in the demonic spirit restaurant shifted to other places, especially about the grand meeting that was about to be held in the Imperial City. There were a total of 122 manors in the Imperial City of North Snow. Outside of these manors were the major prefectures of the North Snow Dynasty. The forces of the 122 manors, plus forces such as Azura Mansion in the Imperial City of North Snow Dynasty, a total of more than 200 forces and organizations would participate in this grand meeting. In the discussion of the people in the demonic spirit restaurant, Long Yu really heard a lot of useful news, mainly to have a general impression of the many forces that would participate in this grand meeting. Long Yu now had a certain understanding of which powers were strong and which powers were weak. He was no longer as clueless as before, completely clueless about them. While Long Yu and Hong Yu drank, they listened to the chatter of the crowd. Soon, the afternoon passed. The sky was getting dark, the wine in the pot was finished, and it was time to go back. This Snow Devil Spirit wine is very effective in replenishing the Xian Qi in the body, and can also help the muscles and vessels to a certain extent. If you always have some with you, it will be useful in a fight. Long Yu said to Hong Yu with a smile. Yes, but 3,000 North Snow coins for 2 pots of Snow Devil Spirit wine is too expensive. Hong Yu first agreed, then shook her head and said she still felt that it was a waste for Long Yu to order the Snow Devil Spirit wine. But on second thought, maybe Long Yu really did not care about 3,000 North Snow coins. After the two left the demonic spirit restaurant, Long Yu felt a hint of killing intent coming from the street not far away. Someone wants to kill me. Long Yu's heart stirred as he secretly made a guess. However, he did not know who it was. Could it be Tung Xingyun, the young master of Tung Wu Manor, whom he had just offended? Hong Yu, follow me closely. Let's go back slowly and kill him by surprise. Long Yu said to Hong Yu calmly. Then he took her up and flew toward the direction of the Heavenly Mandate Manor outside the North Snow Imperial City. If he wanted to, he could directly use the divine concealment method, and the other party would not be able to find him and Hong Yu. But Long Yu did not want to leave like this. Since someone wanted to kill him, he would let him see if the other party had the ability to do so. According to the combat strength that Long Yu had shown, the other party should not send warriors from the secret realm of the King's Path to deal with him. Even if the warriors from the secret realm of the King's Path did come, Long Yu was confident that he could escape unscathed. If it was not the warriors from the 7 divine realms, then Long Yu could easily win and kill the other party. As for facing the warriors from the 7 divine realms, it was a little troublesome for Long Yu. But it was not that he could not deal with it. When the time came, he could just adapt to the situation. Chapter 653. Outside the North Snow Royal City, in a lush forest that did not belong to any manor, Long Yu took Han Yu with him and used the spirit concealment technique, quietly hiding himself. Looking at the few figures descending from the sky above the forest, Long Yu squinted his eyes. They really are Tang Xingyun's men. Long Yu immediately recognized them. They were the people from the Tongwu Manor who had a conflict with him at the entrance of the demonic spirit restaurant. Young Master Tang Xingyun was not here, but the chubby and skinny subordinates were here. They also brought along a middle-aged martial cultivator with 5 divine realm cultivation. There were 3 people in total, and all of them were 5 divine realm experts. However, it was not a problem for Long Yu to deal with them, as long as they did not have any special abilities. The Tongwu Manor was not ranked among the top out of the 122 manors in the North Snow Royal City. It was relatively weak, so even if the 3 people in front of him were the young master of the Tongwu Manor and Tang Xingyun's guards, they would not be too powerful. Hong Yu, hide at the side. I'll deal with them. A cold light flashed in Long Yu's eyes. Since the 3 of them wanted to kill him, he would let them live. In this dense forest, there would definitely not be anyone else who would discover this battle. This caused Long Yu to not have any misgivings. You want to fight them head on? When Han Yue heard this, she was startled. She didn't expect that Long Yu would dare to fight against 3 5 Daos divine power realm experts. Could it be that Long Yu was really that strong? Don't worry. After saying that, Long Yu was ready to attack. He carefully observed the 3 people who landed in the forest and listened to their conversation. Where did that kid go? He really knows how to pick a place. The slightly plump guard cursed loudly. He looked around and said, "If we die here, the environment is not bad. That little brat got lucky. Hurry up and find him and get rid of him." Long Yu had never seen the other middle-aged martial cultivator they brought with them. He had a serious look on his face as he looked around and said, "The 2 of you split up and search. I will stay in the middle and coordinate with you, in case we are ambushed." I say, "Boss, you're too cautious. He's just a brat at the 2 paths of Divinity Realm. Is there a need to be so serious?" The slightly plump guard curled his lips indifferently. However, he didn't dare to neglect the task his boss had given him. He hurriedly split up with the skinny martial cultivator and started searching in 2 different directions. They were quite good at searching, so it wasn't difficult for them to find 2 people in the dense forest. Of course, they didn't know that Long Yu could actually use a technique like divine concealment. If he wanted to escape, Long Yu would have already disappeared without a trace with Han Yu. Unfortunately, Long Yu did not want to let these 3 fellows off so easily. Kill. Taking advantage of the slightly plump bodyguard martial cultivator and the skinny martial cultivator splitting up the search in 2 different directions, Long Yu launched a sneak attack in the next moment. He condensed an ancient afterimage and attacked the skinny martial cultivator. "You've got guts." The thin cultivator had been constantly on guard against a surprise attack, and he immediately reacted to the situation. With a raise of his hand, a wave of lightning flashed into appearance, and it condensed into a ball of lightning that rumbled and exploded before smashing down towards the primordial afterimage. The ball of lightning exploded in the next instant, its terrifying power illuminating the surroundings. The power of the lightning divine characters instantly destroyed many of the nearby trees. The wild power of the lightning divine characters caused everyone to raise their eyebrows. However, it was a pity that Long Yu used the Dragon Sparrow Flash on the desolate ancient afterimage and directly dodged into a different space, turning into an illusory image. The raging power of the lightning divine characters in the dense forest didn't affect Long Yu's primordial shadow at all. But in the next moment, The middle-aged man flashed to the side of the primordial shadow, and then a blade of light condensed from spatial divine characters descended from the sky and instantly slashed the primordial shadow into two. Spatial divine characters. Level 3 Fusion. Long Yu, who was hidden in the shadows, couldn't help but shiver as he watched the middle-aged man unleash the power of the divine runes. The spatial divine runes that this middle-aged man had grasped were definitely comprehended from the divine runes. Compared to the lightning divine runes of the skinny martial cultivator, his power was a level higher. No wonder he's the big brother of those two. However, Long Yu didn't hide in the shadows and ponder for too long. Taking advantage of the fact that the skinny martial cultivator and the middle-aged man were targeting his ancient desolate afterimage, Long Yu quickly jumped out. The power of the 9 nether divine runes immediately spread out, completely enveloping the slightly plump martial cultivator on the other side. 9 hell heavenly light. Long Yu displayed this ancient martial skill, and it instantly enveloped the slightly plump martial cultivator, and the endless 9 hell chi began to corrode his body. Originally, the slightly plump martial cultivator was still paying attention to the primordial shadow of his own people dealing with Long Yu, and he thought that Long Yu was about to be killed. He didn't expect to suddenly encounter a sneak attack, and in a moment of carelessness, he was completely enveloped by the 9 hell heavenly light. Berserker divine characters, break for me. The slightly plump martial cultivator condensed all the power in his body, turning it into a blood-red whirlwind. The violent power erupted, and for a moment, it actually slightly dispersed the 9 hell heavenly light around him. The power of the Berserker divine characters was indeed violent, and its power couldn't be underestimated. Unfortunately, no matter how strong the slightly plump martial cultivator was, he couldn't hit Long Yu's body, so it didn't pose any threat to Long Yu. 9 hell dragon explosions explode. Dragon roars continuously resounded from the 9 hell heavenly light, and bursts of 9 hell divine characters exploded, forcing the slightly plump martial cultivator to use 120% of his power to resist. Who are you? I am a young master's guard of the Soaring Fog Manor. The slightly plump martial cultivator shouted in a deep voice as he resisted. This guy actually didn't recognize that this was Long Yu's technique. He thought that Long Yu had already been killed by his companion, and he didn't see that what his companion killed was only an illusion of Long Yu. I'm the one who will take your life. Long Yu controlled the other primordial shadow hidden in the 9 hell heavenly light and said coldly. When this voice rang out, the slightly plump martial cultivator immediately reacted. Instantly, the violent power of the Berserker divine characters condensed into a sharp light and slashed towards the source of the voice. This person was quite cunning. He wanted to trick Long Yu into speaking, so that he could confirm Long Yu's position in the pitch-black 9 hell heavenly light. Unfortunately, how could Long Yu not be prepared for this? Taking advantage of the slightly plump martial cultivator charging towards his primordial shadow, Long Yu wielded the Netherworld Dragon Blade and appeared behind the slightly plump martial cultivator in the next moment, stabbing it into his back. An ancient top-tier combat weapon, the Netherworld Dragon Blade, was so sharp that no one could block it with their body. The slightly plump martial cultivator's mind was completely focused on killing the primordial shadow that Long Yu was controlling. He didn't expect that someone would sneak attack him from behind. Puff! The Netherworld Dragon Blade shattered his heart meridians. A 5 realms divine ability expert dead. Following the death of the slightly plump martial cultivator, the 9 hell heavenly light instantly spread out, enveloping the skinny martial cultivator and the middle-aged man who felt that something was wrong. Divine ability, Hand of 9 hell. Divine ability, Soul Seal Absorption. Long Yu cast 2 innate divine abilities at the same time, and his target was the middle-aged man who had comprehended the power of the divine rune of space. Long Yu had to deal with the middle-aged man, where he would most likely be able to escape. When a hand of 9 hell appeared from the void, it grabbed the middle-aged man's ankle. The middle-aged man wanted to cast the divine rune of space to escape, But the power of the rainbow divine rune suppressed the power of the divine rune of space that he was about to cast, and it began to absorb the soul seal in his body. The middle-aged man's expression changed, and he immediately gathered all his strength to resist the absorption of the divine rune of soul seal. These two innate divine abilities were meticulously comprehended by Long Yu, and were specifically used to restrict and weaken his opponents. At this moment, if the middle-aged man tried to cast the divine rune of space to escape, the divine rune of space would definitely take advantage of the gap and absorb a large portion of his soul seal. To him, this was a wound that was hard to recover from, and it made it difficult for him to make a decisive decision. While he was hesitating, Long Yu's storm-like attacks had already arrived. The void nether dragon blade appeared behind him, and a soul explosion sounded. The terrifying power blasted the middle-aged man away, and he instantly lost most of his ability to resist, allowing the power of the divine rune of Nine Hell and the divine rune of Siphon to invade his meridians, leaving him on the brink of death. It's about time. Long Yu moved freely in the pitch-black Nine Hell heavenly light, and in the next moment, he appeared in front of the middle-aged man. The short blade in his hand stabbed out, and the defenseless middle-aged man's throat was slit. The middle-aged man didn't even have the chance to unleash his full strength before he was killed by Long Yu. Die! At this moment, the other skinny martial cultivator noticed the commotion, and the divine rune of lightning exploded violently as he released 3 innate divine abilities at almost the same time. At this moment, the pitch-black ninth hell skylight was practically filled with the glow of lightning. Especially the area around Long Yu, it was completely enveloped by the violent glow of lightning. Lightning blades, lightning nets, and lightning spikes blasted towards Long Yu at practically the exact same moment. Even though he was inside the Nine Hell heavenly light, Long Yu couldn't escape from this inescapable net. Pale cold blade go. Long Yu took out a white dagger and threw it at the skinny martial cultivator in the distance. This pale cold blade was the ancient low-tier combat weapon that Long Yu obtained from Prince Cloud. Even if it was thrown by a two-headed divine realm expert, Long Yu could directly pierce through the lightning webs cast by a five-headed divine realm expert and attack the skinny martial cultivator. Everything showed that the pale white blade was a divine weapon, and this caused the thin martial cultivator to reveal an expression of wild joy. If he could get his hands on such a divine weapon, he would be rich. For a moment, the skinny martial cultivator's attention was attracted by the pale cold blade. And this was, of course, an opportunity created by Long Yu. In a fight between experts, even a moment of distraction could lead to death, and the situation could be reversed. Chapter 654. While the skinny cultivator was distracted by the pale cold blade, Long Yu reacted immediately. Facing the 3 innate divine abilities, Long Yu took out the silver prism lock, the first-class medal, and the blood shadow war flag. These 3 earth and heaven-grade combat weapons were activated by Long Yu's Xian Qi, and a few layers of defensive barriers appeared in front of Long Yu, blocking the series of violent lightning divine runes. The combined attacks of 5 transcendent realm experts was more than enough to damage the 3 battle weapons, rendering them unable to use their original functions. However, it had also bought Long Yu enough time to recover. In the next moment, Long Yu's entire body fused back into the ninth hell heavenly light, and he forcefully resisted the remaining destructive force of the lightning divine markings before smashing his fist towards the thin martial cultivator. 9 underworld explosions. Underworld explosion. The netherworld, formed by countless wandering souls and ghosts, exploded in front of the thin martial cultivator who had just grasped the pale, white blade in his hand. The terrifying destructive power sent him flying backwards, causing him to fall heavily onto the ground. Blood flowed from all over his body. The pale cold blade was an ancient low-ranked combat weapon, an existence that surpassed the great desolate ranked combat weapon. Even for an Emperor Realm expert, it was an extremely precious item, let alone for these 5 skinny cultivators who were only at the divine ability realm. It was normal for the skinny cultivator to be attracted by the pale cold blade, but he had never thought that Long Yu would be able to break free from his 3 innate divine abilities in such a short time, and even launch a fatal attack on him. Long Yu snatched the pale cold blade back into his hand and put it back into his storage space. This Heaven's Yellow Springs explosion was one of the strongest offensive techniques that Long Yu had comprehended. However, it would also exhaust almost all of his strength. In the dense forest, the pitch-black 9 underworld heavenly light gradually dissipated. In this short period of time, Long Yu had already completely killed the 3 martial cultivators of the 5 divine powers realm. He had also seized all of their belongings and destroyed their corpses. Hong Yu, who was hiding on the side, had no idea what was going on. She could only see the dark power of the divine characters of the 9 nether spreading across the battlefield. Occasionally, there were flashes of lightning and the aura of the power of the divine characters of space. Not long after, Long Yu appeared in front of her safely, and the 3 divinity realm experts who had been chasing after her had all disappeared. Villa Master Long, are you all right? Hong Yu was the first to greet him and support Long Yu, who was somewhat exhausted. I'm fine, but those 3 guys have already gone to hell. Let's hurry back. Supported by Hong Yu, Long Yu smiled gently and took a heaven-grade elixir to restore his strength. For Long Yu, such an elixir was really nothing. However, in Hong Yu's eyes, such behavior was too wasteful. However, Long Yu had just experienced a fierce battle, and Hong Yu was too lazy to care about Long Yu's affairs. Anyway, it was fine as long as they could safely return to the heavenly mandate manor. After recovering some of his strength, Long Yu took Hong Yu with him and used the method of divine concealment, flying in the direction of the heavenly mandate manor. There are not many things taken from the 3 divine ability realm warriors, but the total value was at least a few thousand North Snow dollars. After all, they were all 5 divine ability realm warriors. These things were nothing to Long Yu, and there was nothing special about them, so he directly threw them to Hong Yu and let Hong Yu distribute them. When Long Yu and Hong Yu returned to the heavenly mandate manor, the commanders of the major Wu army had already calculated the numbers of their subordinates. There were more than 1,000 people in the heavenly mandate manor, but only more than 80 people were compatible with the divine script of shadow attribute, which made Long Yu quite puzzled. It seemed that the 108 divine script of death could not all be put to use. As for the 70 Azura divine script, he could only keep them with him for now and ask Shu Chan if he needed them. Long Yu was not short of money, so of course, he would not sell such precious things. The Azura Mansion was the only ally of the heavenly mandate manor. If the Azura Mansion could become stronger, it would also be a good thing for the heavenly mandate manor. Anyway, the Azura divine script was of no use to the people of the heavenly mandate manor. Long Yu had previously told Hui Yuan Bai that when he brought his subordinates to the North Snow Imperial City, he could take out some Azura divine script and distribute them to them. It was time to fulfill his promise. Today, when he and Hong Yu were inquiring in the Demon Spirit restaurant, they heard someone say that the strength of the Azura Mansion had recently increased a lot. Even all the people there were warriors above the secret realm of divinity. The only thing missing was a warrior of the secret realm of Emperor Path. The Azura Mansion also needed to participate in the Imperial City event, but with their strength, they would not fall to the bottom 3. After all, the people in the Azura Mansion were all young geniuses from the Shura County. Their martial arts talent was at the top level in the Shura County. Since it was a competition of the strength of the young generation, the combat strength of the Azura Mansion was still very strong. For the sake of the heavenly mandate manor, Long Yu did not go to the Azura Mansion for the time being. Instead, he planned to settle the matters of the heavenly mandate manor first. Gather the 88 people. I want to build a Death Legion. Long Yu ordered Hong Yu. Then, he went to a martial arts arena in the heavenly mandate manor and waited for Hong Yu to call the people over. The Death Legion, as the name suggested, was made up of members who had comprehended the divine script of death. As long as their martial arts realm was improved, each of them would be extremely powerful. In fact, Long Yu did not have much hope for the 4 elephant legions that he had arranged to build before: the Azure Dragon, the Black Tortoise, the Vermilion Bird, and the White Fox legions. After all, the members of the 4 elephant legions were mostly ordinary disciples from the Jintian clan, the Ice sect, and so on. Even if these people's martial arts talent was not bad, few of them would be at the top. But for the Death Legion, Long Yu could not have no hope, just for the sake of the divine script of death. As long as the martial arts practitioner was compatible with the divine script of darkness, they could comprehend the power of the divine script of death and become a member of the Death Legion. This Death Legion was something that Long Yu was prepared to focus on. Soon, Han Yu brought all the 88 martial arts practitioners in the heavenly mandate manner who were compatible with the divine script of darkness to the martial arts arena and stood in front of Long Yu. Among the 88 martial arts practitioners, there were both men and women. Some came from the Glazed Moon Palace, and some were disciples of the Jintian clan and the Ice sect. Their martial arts cultivation levels were all different. When they heard that they had been chosen, they were all a little excited. In this world, who did not want to become stronger? And now, becoming a member of the Death Legion was the best opportunity for them to become stronger. Listen up, everyone. You are all compatible with the divine script of darkness, but whether you can truly comprehend the power of the divine script of death is still unknown. Looking at the excited crowd, Long Yu said seriously, "Before I give you the divine script of death, each of you must improve your martial art cultivation to at least the celestial secret realm to prove your martial arts talent." Among the 88 people gathered in front of Long Yu, more than 30 of them were already in the celestial secret realm. Most of them were female disciples of the Glazed Moon Palace, but there were also a few people that Long Yu was familiar with, such as Bu Fong and Yin Huanma of the Jintian clan, Feng Yusen of the Feng clan, Mo Feng Ming of the Mo clan, and Elder Shi's granddaughter, Shi Yingwu. Since these 5 people were compatible with the divine script of darkness, Long Yu transferred them from their respective legions to become members of the Death Legion. Now that you have reached the celestial secret realm, I will give you the divine script of death now. Comprehend the power of the divine script of death as quickly as possible. After saying this, Long Yu began to take out the divine script of death from his storage space and gave them to a total of 32 people in the celestial secret realm. Among these 32 people, there were a few female disciples of the Glazed Moon Palace with the highest cultivation, but they were only at the heavenly beginning realm and the heavenly flower realm. Originally, they were considered top cultivators in the Glazed Moon Palace, but in a place like the North Snow Imperial City, the cultivation of the celestial secret realm was undoubtedly extremely weak. Most importantly, these female disciples of the Glazed Moon Palace were already over 30 years old. Although they were considered cultivators of the heavenly mandate manner, they could not represent the heavenly mandate manner to participate in the Imperial Capital Festival. Among those under 30 years old, Yin Huanma's martial arts cultivation was the highest. She was in the human tribulation realm. Other than her, Feng Yusen and Bu Fong were both in the human glory realm, while Mo Feng Ming and Shi Yingwu were in the human initial realm. There was no doubt that the results of this Imperial Capital Festival would depend on the cultivation of these people in the next 3 months. Of course, in addition to these people, there were also many geniuses in the other legions. When the time came, they would certainly be able to contribute to the heavenly mandate manner. All in all, after Long Yu arranged everything, they could only rely on themselves for the specific cultivation. Anyway, elixirs and weapons have been prepared for them, and there were even a lot of books of martial arts techniques stored. It was enough for them to grow to the secret realm. Okay, everyone can go now. After a while, I will personally test the results of your cultivation. Long Yu waved his hand and let everyone go, leaving Han Yu alone. Now, for everyone in the heavenly mandate manner, improving their own cultivation was the most important thing. Therefore, Long Yu did not keep anyone to chat. There was no need for that. Han Yu, you should also focus on cultivation and strive to break through to the secret realm as soon as possible. Long Yu said to Han Yu. Okay. Han Yu nodded and said, in the past few days, everyone has arranged the cultivation resources. Many people have immediately made breakthroughs in their martial arts realms. I believe that in 3 months, the overall strength of our heavenly mandate manor will change dramatically. That's good. But after 3 months, I'm afraid that no one under 30 will be able to step into the secret realm. Long, you said with concern, if I don't want to be at the bottom of the Imperial Capital Festival, my strength is still not strong enough. In 2 days, I will set off for the Source Land and strive to improve my strength to the next level in 3 months. The Source Land was one of the 2 areas in the North Snow Dynasty where exotic beasts frequently appeared. It was a vast forest in the east of the North Snow Dynasty. Chapter 655. For what he heard in the demonic restaurant in the afternoon, Long Yu knew that the main characters of the Imperial Capital Grand Festival were definitely martial practitioners in the secret realm. Young people in the Celestial Being secret realm would not be able to play any role in the Imperial Capital Grand Festival. No matter what the rules were this year, this would not change. If a major force had young cultivators in the secret realm of the Emperor Path under the age of 30, they would definitely be able to become one of the top forces and become one of the strongest forces among the 122 manors and 70 manors. In the current North Snow Imperial Capital, the strongest forces were mainly the 8 manors and 4 manors. Almost every force had geniuses in the secret realm of the Emperor Path under the age of 30. The most famous one was the Silver Fox King, the guard of Yuhan Shin. The Silver Fox King was the young master of the Silver Fox Manor. He was almost 30 years old, but he had already stepped into the secret realm of the Emperor Path for 2 years. It was the honor of the entire Silver Fox Manor to become the guard of Yuhan Shin. As for Yuhan Shin, she was naturally not very old, but she was not counted among the forces of the manors and manors. She was a descendant of the royal family of the North Snow Empire and was the host of the entire Imperial Capital Grand Festival. She was an existence that completely surpassed the other forces of the North Snow Empire. Other than the 8 manors and 4 manors, most of the other manors and manors would also have young cultivators in the 7 realms of the Divine Realm. Therefore, in every year's Imperial Capital Grand Festival, if one did not want to be at the bottom, one must at least have a cultivator in the 5 realms of the Divine Realm. Furthermore, one person might not even be able to win enough points. This was not good news for the Heavenly Mandate Manor. It should be known that there were only 2 martial practitioners in the secret realm, Long Yu and Man Xian, in the Heavenly Mandate Manor. It was extremely difficult for the others to step into the secret realm within 3 months. There were very few people who had the chance to do so. Therefore, Long Yu had to be prepared to rely on himself when the time came. Working hard to improve his martial arts realm was the most important thing. Long Yu wanted to go to the fountainhead to train. Of course, Hong Yu cannot stop him. For Hong Yu, breaking through the bottleneck and entering the mystery realm was the most important thing. In the end, Long Yu wandered around the Heavenly Mandate Manor a few times and met with everyone in the manor. After making sure that everyone had gotten enough cultivation resources, he prepared to leave with peace of mind. Before heading to the spring, Long Yu planned to make a trip to the Azura Manor to visit Hui Yuan Bai and the others. It was a silent night. On the second day, Long Yu traveled alone. He controlled the Azura Ancient Palace, making it invisible as it floated high up in the clouds. This was to ensure that if he encountered any danger, the Azura Ancient Palace would immediately appear. The current Azura Ancient Palace didn't have any offensive abilities, and the Azura Divine Runes stored within it weren't abundant. Moreover, it would take a long time to replenish them. Even if Long Yu had the Azura Source Stone and could completely control the Azura Ancient Palace, he could only activate the Azura Ancient Palace to release the Azura Thought-Killing Matrix once. Previously, when Long Yu activated the Azura Thought-Killing Matrix, he could directly strangle the powerful exotic beasts in the secret land of the King's Path. However, using the Azura Thought-Killing Matrix against human martial arts practitioners might not be so effective. The Azura Thought-Killing Matrix was extremely powerful, but it wasn't difficult to avoid it. Last time, the exotic beasts of the Ice God clan and the secret land of the King's Path were completely unprepared, so they were all killed by the Azura thought-killing matrix. Even after resting for so many days, the Azura ancient palace had only recovered a little energy. The Azura thought-killing matrix could only be used once. As for the Azura seal matrix, the space teleportation matrix, and other functions, it couldn't be used at all. Previously, when Long Yu sealed tens of thousands of exotic beasts of the Ice God clan in the Azura Ancient Palace, he had basically exhausted the energy of the Azura Ancient Palace. If he wanted to replenish the energy of the Azura Ancient Palace again, he would have to wait for a long time. It could be a few months, or it could be a few years. Or, if Long Yu could improve the compatibility between the Azura Source Stone and the Azura Ancient Palace, he might be able to speed up the recovery rate of the Azura Ancient Palace's energy. Long Yu used the divine concealment technique and looked back at the snow-covered Heavenly Mandate Manor one last time. Then, he quietly flew toward the North Snow Royal Capital. Yesterday, the people of the Soaring Fog Manor chased after Long Yu, but in the end, they couldn't return. This puzzled the young master of the Soaring Fog Manor, Teng Xingyun. However, he didn't expect that they would be killed by Long Yu. Teng Xingyun sent many people to search everywhere, trying to find traces of the murderer. However, he didn't expect that Long Yu would once again swagger into the North Snow Royal Capital. Perhaps only when the Royal Capital Grand Event began, and when Long Yu showed his true strength, would Teng Xingyun remember that it was Long Yu who killed the 3 martial arts cultivators of the 5 realms that he had sent to hunt him down. In the North Snow Royal Capital, the Azura Mansion was located in the western corner, which was equivalent to a corner. Its geographical location was not good. However, it was a large mansion after all. It was large enough to accommodate thousands of people. Being able to live in it was still a treatment that the martial arts cultivators of the Jianghu didn't even dare to think about. Long Yu came to the sky above the Azura Mansion. He saw many familiar figures at a glance. They were having a discussion in the backyard of the Azura Mansion. However, it seemed that those people didn't look very good. Hui Yuan Bai, Fu Tsubing, Yu Qing Sha, Sahans Han, Xingwu. Long Yu looked at the 5 people and thought for a moment. Then, he directly landed in the backyard of the Azura Mansion. He removed his divine concealment and revealed himself. The 5 people were originally discussing something. When they saw Long Yu, they immediately stopped and stood up. Apart from Yu Qing Sha, the other 4 all smiled. To Yu Qing Sha, Long Yu had defeated her personal combat soldier for a period of time. It was not easy for her to smile at Long Yu like this. However, Yu Qing Sha didn't have any hostility toward Long Yu. Everyone, you don't look very good. Did something happen? Long Yu went straight to the point. Hui Yuan Bai was the most senior among them. He frowned and said, something did happen. Long Yu, it's good that you're here. You are now the Manor Lord of the Heavenly Mandate Manor. How do you plan to deal with the Royal Capital Grand Event in 3 months? So that's what it is. Long Yu was a little surprised. But if it's the Royal Capital Grand Assembly, your Azura Manor shouldn't have any problems. After all, you have quite a number of Azura County's young geniuses. Just counting those with 5 Transcendent Realm and above, you should have at least 10 of them. It's not as simple as you think, Yu Qing Sha said. She looked at Long Yu and shook her head. General Huo brought 100 people not long ago. Every one of them is a cultivator of the secret realm of divinity. There are even more than 10 of them who are at the 5 divine realms or 6 divine realms. However, General Huo's people are all over 30 years old and cannot participate in the Royal Capital Grand Event. Not only that, even Sahan Han and I are over 30 years old. We have no right to participate in the Royal Capital Grand Event. Yu Qing Sha's words surprised Long Yu. He didn't think that Yu Qing Sha and Sahan Han were already over 30 years old. The requirement for the Azura selection was that those who were under 40 years old could participate. Now, the North Snow Empire's Royal Capital Grand Event only allowed young martial arts cultivators who were under 30 years old to participate. Obviously, the requirements were much stricter. Even if the age range was reduced, the young martial arts cultivators who participated in the Royal Capital Grand event were much stronger than those who participated in the Azure selection. From this, it could be seen that the foundation of the North Snow Empire was far beyond that of Azure County. The most serious thing is that some other people have betrayed us. Fu Tsubing, a young genius who had comprehended the divine script of light and was quite proficient in medicine and alchemy, said worriedly. Betrayal? Long Yu frowned. He didn't know what was going on. With Yu Tongfei as the leader, 18 people announced yesterday that they are leaving Azure residence and joining one of the 4 major residences of the North Snow Empire, the Dragon Residence. Xing Wu, who was originally the strongest subordinate of Shu Chan, said in a deep voice, including Yu Tongfei, the 18 people are all young geniuses of Azure County who are under 30 years old. After this group of people left with him, there are no more than 20 people in the entire Azure residence who are qualified to participate in the Royal Capital Grand event. Even Xing Wu was already 35 years old and couldn't participate in the Royal Capital Grand event. This meant that the current situation of the entire Azure residence was indeed quite grim. Everyone, don't worry. Long Yu thought for a moment, then smiled and said, at least Princess Shu Chan is very strong now, and she might be even stronger in 3 months. As long as she can return, the Azure residence shouldn't be a problem. It's not enough to rely on the princess alone. I heard that the rules of the Royal Capital Grand event this time are mostly group battles. Fu Tsubing said with a slight frown. In that case, everyone can only improve their strength as quickly as possible in these 3 months. Long Yu said, I have elixirs and battle weapons that I obtained with Princess Shu Chan. Everyone, take them and try to improve your strength as much as possible. Giving a portion of the cultivation resources to the Azure residence was one of Long Yu's goals for this trip. However, he didn't expect that someone from the Azure residence would announce that they were leaving the Azure residence and joining one of the 4 major residences, the Dragon Residence. This was indeed bad news for the Azure residence. However, the situation at the bottom of Azure Valley was much better than the situation at the Heavenly Mandate Manor. By the way, how many people in the Azure residence are compatible with the Shadow Element Divine Text? Long Yu took out the elixirs and battle weapons that he obtained from Ice Heaven Valley, Shadow Trace Treasure Vault, and other places and distributed them to everyone. Then, he asked another question. Everyone was shocked to see so many cultivation resources. They didn't expect Long Yu to be able to take out so many things. After hearing Long Yu's question, Hui Yuanbai replied, I haven't done the statistics. However, there are only slightly more than 100 people in the Azure residence now. Among them, there should be no more than 20 who are compatible with the Shadow Element Divine Text. Then, I'll give you 20 Divine Text inscriptions first. Long Yu thought for a moment and took out 20 complete Azure Divine Text inscriptions from his bosom. The 5 people in the field were shocked when they saw the 20 Azure Divine Text inscriptions. They were speechless for a long time. A complete divine text inscription was a treasure even for an Emperor Path Secret Plane cultivator. They didn't expect Long Yu to take out 20 of them at once. Among them, Hui Yuanbai was the most shocked. He remembered that Long Yu had said before that he would give some divine text inscriptions to his subordinates. However, he didn't pay much attention at that time and thought that Long Yu was using it to motivate his subordinates. Chapter 656. The Azure Divine Script was the reason why the Azure King's family was able to rule the Shura Prefecture. Only the direct descendants of the Azure King were qualified to obtain a complete Azure Divine Script. For example, Shu Chan had become the strongest in the entire Shura Prefecture. As for the others, such as the dead Tian Yueha, they could only rely on the Azure Divine Script simulated by the Azure King to comprehend the Azure Divine Script. At most, they could comprehend 1/10 of the Azure Divine Script's power. There was a huge difference in the effects between the two. The 20 Azura divine script seals that Long Yu had taken out could definitely create 20 strong warriors in the Shura mansion. At the very least, they would be much stronger than ordinary warriors. Give them to General Hua first. He will be in charge of distributing them, Sahan's Han said solemnly. The gray-clothed man, Sahan's Han, said solemnly. He was not compatible with the Shadow Divine runes, so these Azura Divine runes were useless to him. However, he knew the value of these things. Dugu Ejian is compatible with the Shadow Divine script. He originally obtained a Hades Divine script seal and comprehended the complete Hades Divine script. Xing Wu's eyes lit up, a brilliant light shining in his eyes as he said, if he can comprehend another Azura Divine rune, his strength will greatly increase. With the addition of the princess, it won't be impossible for him to shine in the grand tournament. How to distribute them is up to you. If 20 is not enough, you can say it now. Long Yu glanced at the crowd and said, it should be enough for now. There are less than 20 people in the entire Shura mansion who are compatible with the Shadow Divine script. Hui Yuan Bai shook his head and put away the 20 Azura Divine script seals. Now that the Shura mansion was in a difficult situation, those who wanted to leave had already left. For example, the 18 people led by Yu Tongfei. Until now, no one had left the Heavenly Mandate Manor because the people there were too weak. Even if they wanted to join other forces, no one would want them. The people in the Shura mansion were different. Any warrior below the age of 30 in the secret plane could be considered a genius. Even the Dragon Mansion, one of the 4 major mansions of the North Snow Imperial capital, was willing to accept Yu Tongfei's group of 18 people to strengthen themselves. Yu Tongfei has brought people back to cause trouble. Suddenly, a voice that Long Yu was familiar with came from outside the courtyard. It was little Fatty. Rin Pingfan panicked and ran in hurriedly. When Rin Pingfan saw that Long Yu was actually here, he couldn't help but have a happy expression. Brother Long, why are you here? I heard that you had a conflict with the people from the Soaring Mist Manor at the Demonic Spirit restaurant yesterday. Did anything happen? Do I look like I'm in trouble? Long Yu smiled and patted Rin Pingfan's shoulder. This little fatty had also stepped into the third path divinity realm and could be considered the combat power of the Azura Manor in the Imperial Capital Grand Meet. Long Yu pondered for a second, then took out a huge flaming fan from his chest and handed it to Rin Pingfan. This is the Red Moon Valley's leader's combat weapon, the flaming fan. Although it's only a low-grade, Great Desolate grade weapon, it should be useful to you. This guy gave him a Great Desolate grade weapon as soon as they met, which made Rin Pingfan a little shocked. Brother Long, you even snatched the combat weapon of the Red Moon Valley's leader. Amazing. When will the princess come back? Shu Chan is now in the North Snow Dynasty's Heavenly Mist Prefecture. She has joined the Snowdance Corps to resist the invasion of the Tianqin Divine Wings Corps. She should be back soon. Long Yu said after thinking for a while. We also heard that the princess appeared in the Heavenly Mist Prefecture, but we didn't know that she had joined the Snowdance Corps. Hearing this, everyone was a little surprised. They didn't expect that Shu Chan would actually join the army of the North Snow Dynasty. But on second thought, since it was against the Tianqin Dynasty, it was completely normal for Shu Chan to be so enthusiastic. After all, the Tianqin Dynasty was the enemy who killed her father. Well, let's go and see why Yu Tongfei has come back. Long Yu, will you come with us? Sahanzan stood up and looked at Long Yu and asked. Of course. Long Yu nodded. Although he was in a hurry, he was not in a hurry. Now that the guy who had betrayed the Azura Mansion and joined the Dragon Mansion had come back to make trouble, Long Yu wanted to see what kind of magic power he had. That guy actually has the face to come back. He is really shameless. Xing Wu snorted coldly, stood up, and walked toward the gate of the Azura Mansion with the others. After a while, Long Yu followed Hui Yuan Bai and the others to the front yard of the Azura Mansion. At a glance, he saw many of Hui Yuan Bai's subordinates blocking a group of young men in golden clothes. This group of young men wore golden clothes with long dragon embroidery on their sleeves, which meant that they came from the Dragon Mansion, one of the 4 major mansions. At this moment, a young man in golden clothes, was standing proudly in the front yard of the Azura Mansion with his head held high. He glanced at the many martial arts practitioners of the Nightmare Corps in the mystery realms with disdain in his eyes. This young man was actually an expert of the King Path's secret realm. "That's you, Tongfei." Hui Yuanbai pointed at a tall young man behind the young man from the King Path's secret realm. At this moment, he was bowing to the young man from the King Path's secret realm like a slave. That was Yu Tongfei, who had joined the Dragon Mansion and was now following the people of the Dragon Mansion back to show off. That young man from the King Path's secret realm should be the strongest among the younger generation of the Dragon Mansion. Long Yu narrowed his eyes and thought to himself as he looked at the disdainful young man from the King Road's secret realm. Currently, the 8 mansions and 4 major mansions of the North Snow Empire each had a young expert from the King Path's secret realm. However, there was only one. The person in front of him should be the one from the Dragon Mansion. Someone who can manage things is here. The young man from the King Path's secret realm from the Dragon Mansion looked at Hui Yuanbai and immediately laughed in disdain. The strongest person in the Azura Mansion should be this person. 7 Daos Divinity Realm Cultivation. The entire mansion doesn't even have a single King Path secret realm cultivator. How can he still have the face to exist in the North Snow Empire? This is the Crown Prince of the Dragon Mansion, Long Yao. He has now stepped into the King Path secret realm and is one of the best of the younger generation. Yu Tongfei, who was standing beside the young man from the King Path secret realm, immediately introduced him. At the same time, he swept a disdainful glance across the field. When he saw Long Yu, he even chuckled to express his disdain for Long Yu. Yu Hanxin valued Long Yu and Shu Chan. This was something that everyone knew, which made Yu Tongfei unhappy. This Long Yu was only at the 2 Daos Divinity Realm Cultivation. He couldn't even compare to himself, let alone a proud son of the heavens like Long Yao. Cut the crap. Today, the Crown Prince is here to recruit the young experts from your mansion. The so-called Crown Prince of the Dragon Mansion, Long Yao, narrowed his eyes and said disdainfully, "Of course, everything is voluntary. Whoever wants to join the Dragon Mansion can step forward now. From now on, this Crown Prince will treat you like a disciple of the Dragon Mansion." Yu Tongfei of the Azura Mansion led 18 people to seek refuge in the Dragon Mansion, greatly increasing the strength of the younger generation of the Dragon Mansion. Therefore, Long Yao wanted to come again and show off his strength. He was sure that more people would choose to join the Dragon Mansion. However, after he finished speaking, the Azura Mansion was completely silent. There were even many people looking at him with ridiculing gazes. Obviously, no one from the Azura Mansion wanted to join the Dragon Mansion. Those who wanted to join would have left the moment Yu Tongfei left the Azura Mansion. Why would they wait until now? In the crowd, Ban Xianjia, Xiao Zhu, and Xuyan were all martial cultivators of the divine secret realm below the age of 30. Therefore, when Long Yao glanced at them, he found that the 3 of them only looked at him with hostility. On the other side, a cold swordsman of the 5 divine realms leaned alone on the railing in the corridor, watching everything from afar. It was Dugu Yijian. As an expert from the Emperor Path Mystic Realm, Long Yao naturally saw Dugu Yijian and wanted to recruit him. However, it was obvious that Dugu Yijian was less interested in joining the Dragon Mansion than the others. This situation made the Crown Prince of the Dragon Mansion, Long Yao's face darkened. You have to think this through. After the grand meeting in the capital 3 months from now, the Azura Mansion will be removed from the North Snow Royal Capital. At that time, you won't even have a place to hide, let alone step into the higher realms of martial arts. Long Yao said disdainfully, "I will only count to 3. This is your last chance to join the Dragon Mansion. As for those who remain in the Azura Mansion, they will become the enemies of the Dragon Mansion." 1, 2. Long Yao began to count, but everyone still looked at him like he was an idiot. This made him very embarrassed. 3. A cold look flashed in Long Yao's eyes, and he turned around. From now on, the Azura Mansion is the enemy of the Dragon Mansion. In the North Snow Imperial capital, those who offend the Dragon Mansion will not have a good ending. In 3 months, when the Imperial Capital Grand event begins, you will know what regret is. Let's go. Since these people look down on the Dragon Mansion, then let them perish under the might of the Dragon Mansion. This was Long Yao's idea. However, he did not know that it was not that the people of the Azure Mansion looked down on the Dragon Mansion, but that the Dragon Mansion had come so strongly. Other than a dog like Yu Tongfei, who would put down their dignity to join the Dragon Mansion. Today, the arrogant crown prince of the Dragon Mansion, Long Yao, made everyone in the Azure Mansion hate him. However, there was nothing they could do. All they could do was continue to practice hard. In addition, I don't know if Mo Jian will return in 3 months. If he can enter the Emperor Path Mystic Realm, the situation of the Azure Mansion will be much better. In the crowd, someone sighed. Mo Jian was now 31 or 32 years old. He was originally only 1 step away from entering the Emperor Path Mystic Realm. Now that he had been out for so long, he had probably broken through. Although he could not participate in the Imperial Capital Grand event due to his age in the North Snow Imperial Capital, if there was an expert from the Emperor Path Mystic Realm in one of the forces, they would have enough deterrence and would not be easily bullied. Chapter 657. After coming out of the Azure Mansion, Long Yu flew straight to the west. At the same time, the invisible Azure Ancient Palace also flew toward the west from the clouds high in the sky. Long Yu did not care too much about the arrogant Long Yao of the Dragon House. As long as he was strong enough, no one would care. Even Long Yao, the Dragon House's crown prince, would be defeated by him. Long Yu's destination was the west of the North Snow Imperial City, the Spring Land, which was thousands of miles away. It was one of the places in the North Snow Empire where 2 strange beasts frequently appeared. It was said that there was more than 1 transmission channel in the depths of the Spring Land, and a steady stream of strange beasts came from it. Since ancient times, many people had destroyed the transmission channels of the alien race, but they could not completely stop the appearance of strange beasts in the Spring Land. It was clear that there were many transmission channels. As time passed, no one thought of destroying those transmission channels. That was because the endless stream of strange beasts was the perfect target for countless martial cultivators to train and kill. If they could defeat these strange beasts, it was very likely that they could obtain some crystals that contained the power of divine characters. These crystals had no use for cultivation, but whether it was human martial practitioners or demonic cultivators, they could absorb the power within them to replenish their energy and quickly recover from a state of exhaustion to a state of full strength. The effect of this kind of strange beast crystal to restore the power of the divine text was even better than some heaven-level and great desolate-level elixirs. Therefore, it could be sold at a very high price in the countries of human martial practitioners or demonic cultivators. Previously, Yu Hanxin led the army of the North Snow Empire to destroy tens of thousands of strange beasts of the Ice God clan, and harvested tens of thousands of ice divine text crystals, which was a great fortune. Of course, these were just ordinary strange beast crystals. If one was lucky enough, they could also obtain some special crystals, special strange beast crystals, which had the same effect as the divine text. Martial practitioners or demonic cultivators could comprehend some kind of divine text power from them. However, the value of these special strange beast crystals was still not comparable to a complete divine text inscription. With so many divine text inscriptions on Long Yu's body, if they were made public, it would definitely cause an uproar in the entire North Snow Empire. Unfortunately, of course, Long Yu would not make such a treasure public. After Long Yu made arrangements for the Heavenly Mandate Manor and the Azure Mansion, he began to busy himself with his own matters. The most important thing was, of course, to train and improve his own martial arts realm. It was true that Long Yu had many elixirs, but he had already taken all the elixirs that contained the spiritual chi of heaven and earth and could be used for cultivation. If he took them again, the effects would be halved. If he wanted to improve his martial arts realm, he either had to find some new elixirs or rely on time to cultivate and absorb the heaven and earth spiritual qi. Long Yu's main goal in going to the wellspring was to gain experience and improve his combat ability. He also wanted to strengthen his own methods as much as possible. The opportunity to quickly improve his martial arts realm was something that could only be encountered by chance, and Long Yu did not insist on it. Eastern border of the wellspring. In the area between the North Snow Empire and the Springland, there was a tower-shaped city. This city was called the Spring Heavenly Tower, and it was the gathering place for all martial and demonic cultivators who wanted to go to the Springland to train. In the North Snow Empire, most of the cultivators were demonic cultivators, but there were also quite a few human martial cultivators. In the Shunwu world, such a country was not uncommon. The powerful demon emperor of the North Snow Empire, Yu Hanshin, was a demonic cultivator. To put a specific number, in the North Snow Empire, human martial cultivators made up at most 1/3 of the population. This included the North Snow Empire. Among the 4 major manors, other than the largest Sky Hall, the other 3, including the Dragon House, were all demonic cultivator forces. The Dragon House crown Prince Long Yao that Long Yu saw before was actually a demonic cultivator. It was the same in the Spring Heavenly Tower. Walking on the streets, most of the cultivators you saw were demonic cultivators. Of course, no matter what kind of demonic cultivator they were all equal here. Normal people would not even be able to detect the demonic qi on each other. Demonic cultivators, once they entered the heaven realm, would be able to take human form. Under normal circumstances, demonic cultivators would take human form, not for any other reason but for convenience. After all, in the Shunwu world as a whole, humans were the dominant race. The entire Spring Heavenly Tower was split into 7 upper floors and 7 lower floors. The upper floors were so tall that they reached the clouds. From the ground level, there were a total of 7 floors. Each floor was at least 300 meters tall. The lower floors extended underground. Each floor was at least 300 meters deep, taking up a lot of space. For normal martial cultivators, the Spring Heavenly Tower was only a place to rest. But the higher the floor, the higher the level, the higher the spirit gathering formation, and the faster one's cultivation speed would be. If one was qualified to go to the highest floor of the Spring Heavenly Tower, their cultivation speed would be at least 10 times faster than outside. It was said that the highest floor of the Spring Heavenly Tower could only accommodate 1 cultivator at a time, so it was extremely difficult to obtain the qualifications to enter, no matter how much money was offered. Long Yu wasn't interested in cultivating in the Spring Heavenly Tower. He only wanted to rest for a night, or find a team and enter the Spring Heavenly Tower the next day. In the end, Long Yu didn't know much about the Spring Heavenly Tower, so it was best for him to follow a small team and enter together. The good news was that there were millions of martial cultivators and beast cultivators coming and going in the Spring Heavenly Tower at all times. While resting in the Spring Heavenly Tower, recruitment could be seen everywhere. With Long Yu's 2 thaumaturgy realm cultivation, it wouldn't be easy to find a good team, but it wouldn't be hard to find a normal team either. Of course, that's assuming that Long Yu wasn't picky. The upper 7 levels of the Spring Heavenly Pagoda were prepared for human cultivators. To human cultivators, the upper 7 levels had a very good effect on their cultivation. Even the first level, which anyone could enter, could increase the cultivation speed of human cultivators by around 10%. Of the millions of human martial cultivators in the Spring Heavenly Tower, 99% could only stay in the first floor. So even a 10% increase in cultivation speed was quite terrifying. However, this was only for normal martial cultivators. In a place like the North Snow Empire, which martial cultivator family didn't have a spirit-gathering spell formation. Take the Heavenly Mandate Manor, for example. In the entire Heavenly Mandate Manor, there were hundreds of spirit-gathering matrices of varying effects, increasing the cultivation speed of the martial arts practitioners in the entire Heavenly Mandate Manor by more than 10 to 50%. The effect was already comparable to the second floor of the Spring Heavenly Tower. Therefore, the Spring Heavenly Tower was actually a paradise for martial cultivators. To enter the first floor of the Spring Heavenly Tower, one only needed to pay 10 North Snow coins. Even so, the entire Spring Heavenly Tower received nearly 10,000 divine coins from tens of millions of cultivators in a day. A portion of these divine coins were collected by the builders of the Spring Heavenly Tower, while the rest had to be handed over to the North Snow Empire and the seniors who built the Spirit Gathering spell formation. Therefore, Long Yu wasn't particularly rich with 100,000 divine coins. The key was that although Prince Yun Duan's identity was precious, he didn't need to carry too many divine coins with him. How could the wealth of the entire Cloud Empire be measured in divine coins? 100,000 divine coins was actually Prince Yun Duan's pocket money. One had to know that Prince Yun Duan's ancient low-tier combat weapon, the Pale Cold Blade, was a priceless treasure. It was a super treasure that couldn't be bought with any amount of divine coins. The first floor of the Spring Heavenly Tower occupied a vast area, and there were hundreds of entrances. Long Yu arrived at the bottom of the tower and followed the crowd of martial cultivators. He casually paid 10 North Snow coins and stepped into the Spring Heavenly Tower. The first floor of the Spring Heavenly Tower was a ring structure. The outermost ring was usually filled with groups of martial cultivators, recruiting members, preparing for missions, and so on. This place was called the Outer Zone. From the outer zone to the inner ring was the trading zone. In the trading zone, there were countless martial cultivators setting up stalls to trade and so on. No one dared to cause trouble here. Not only would they be kicked out of the Spring Heavenly Tower, they would also be banned from entering the Spring Heavenly Tower for the rest of their lives. Inside the trading zone were the training zone and the resting zone. The training zone and the resting zone each had a different spirit gathering formation. If one wanted to enter, they would have to pay extra. Some martial cultivators with a little bit of money liked to rest and train here. It could help them improve their martial realm faster, and it would also help them recover from the injuries and energy they had expended in battles. Of course, Long Yu didn't need to rest and train here. He just wandered around the outer zone and observed the general situation. Then, he started to look for a group that had a better understanding of the Spring Heavenly Tower. At least it was his first time entering the Spring Heavenly Tower. Long Yu planned to follow other groups, and only after he gained some experience would he be able to move out on his own. There were many martial cultivator groups recruiting members in the outer zone. At a glance, there were too many to count, and it was too much for one's eyes to take in. Long Yu observed them one by one, and finally, he locked onto a group. There were 2 women in this group. From these 2 women, Long Yu could feel a very strong aura of a beast, the aura of a withered branch beast. Long Yu could confirm that the aura of a beast on the 2 women was an aura that could only be obtained after fighting with beasts for a long time. Long Yu could tell that these 2 women were quite famous in this area from the reverence in the eyes of the surrounding Jianghu martial cultivators towards the 2 women. Having killed enough withered branch beasts, these 2 women must have a good understanding of the Spring Heavenly Tower. Moreover, they were both at 5 Divine Realm cultivation, and their combat strength was not bad. They wouldn't be a burden to Long Yu. In this group, Long Yu temporarily only knew that these 2 women were recruiting members in the outer zone. As for who else was in this group, he didn't know. The Cracked Fong team needs a member who knows stealth and is responsible for exploring a secret realm. The member must be able to avoid the senses of at least 7 Divine Realm beasts. This was the recruitment requirement of the 2 women's team. To most martial cultivators in the outer zone, this requirement was no different from a dream. Able to avoid the senses of 7 Divine Realm beasts. Chapter 658. The so-called Crack 2 squad was quite famous in the outer district. Most of the martial cultivators in the Jianghu who stayed in the Source Heavenly Tower all year round had heard of the Crack 2 squad. That was because the Crack 2 squad not only had 2 beautiful women, but also had a leader who was an expert in the King Path Mystery Realm. This allowed the 4 members of the Broken Tooth Squad to roam freely in the Source Sky Tower and earn a lot of money. Long Yu observed the 2 female cultivators who were leaning against a wall and chatting while observing the crowd. One of them was wearing a blue robe and had a mature appearance. She had a voluptuous figure and seemed to have a special charm to her. From the looks of it, she should be around 30 years old. The other woman was younger. There was a sly look in her eyes, as if she liked to play tricks on others. She was about the same age as Shu Chan, but she had the same cultivation level as Shu Chan. According to the news that Long Yu had heard from the Broken Tooth Squad when he came to the Source Sky Tower, these 2 women should be powerhouses who had obtained complete divine runes and comprehended them completely. The 4 members of a Split Tooth Squad were all experts who had comprehended the complete power of the divine character inscription. Only the youngest girl hadn't completely comprehended it. This made her stronger than Long Yu. Now, apart from comprehending 30% of the Siphon Divine Rune, Long Yu had only comprehended 20% of the 9 Serenities Divine Rune, Stealth Divine Rune, and Self-Healing Divine Rune. As for the Death Divine Rune and Azura Divine Rune, there was no need to talk about it. He had only comprehended less than 1%. However, Long Yu's advantage was that the power of the divine runes he had comprehended was at the 3rd level. It was directly comprehended from the divine rune source and was much stronger than comprehending the power of the complete divine runes. Long Yu walked towards the 2 women. At the same time, he saw another handsome young man walking towards them. "Hello, beauties. I'm here to apply for the Broken Tooth Squad." The handsome young man gave the 2 women a charming smile. "If you need someone who can go invisible and avoid the senses of the 7 divine beasts, that person must be me." The 2 women looked at him and said, "You can go invisible now. When our leader arrives, he will naturally check if you pass." "Haven't you heard of my name, Wu Juanhao?" The handsome young man looked rather disappointed. However, the smile on his face was still charming, and no one could tell what he was really feeling. "You're Wu Juanhao?" The slightly older female cultivator glanced at the handsome young man, then looked him up and down, and said lightly, "But that also needs to be approved by our team leader." Long Yu stood at the side and listened for a while. Although he did not know who Wu Juanhao was, he was now a relatively famous martial cultivator of the Jianghu in the vicinity. If Wu Juanhao joined the Broken Tooth Squad, Long Yu would not stand a chance. Compared to Wu Juanhao, Long Yu felt that he had no advantage at all. The only advantage he had was his invisibility. Even an Emperor Path Mystic Realm expert might not be able to detect him after he used the Divine Concealment technique. In terms of Martial Dao Realm, Long Yu was only at the 2 Daos Divine Ability Realm, while Wu Juanhao had already reached the 6 Daos Divine Ability Realm. From this point alone, Long Yu was completely defeated. Moreover, Wu Juanhao had been around the Spring Sky Pagoda for a long time and had a great reputation. In comparison, the Broken Tooth Squad would naturally be more inclined to recruit him. Therefore, if Long Yu wanted to join the Broken Tooth Squad, he would probably have to use some tricks. "When will your leader be here?" Wu Juanhao frowned slightly when he heard the older female cultivator's words. "My time is very precious. In that case, can I ask you first? What do you hope to get in return for joining the Broken Tooth Squad?" The older female cultivator asked bluntly after some thought. "It's very simple." Wu Juanhao's expression softened when he heard her words. He stared at her voluptuous figure and said, 100 divine coins. Your squad can definitely afford it." 100 divine coins? Aren't you being too black-hearted? The young female cultivator who had been silent all this while couldn't help but complain. 100 divine coins was equivalent to the price of a great desolate level low-ranked combat weapon. How could this guy say that? Black-hearted? Wu Juanhao chuckled and glanced at the young female cultivator. "Little sister Qiao Ziying, it's not like you don't know what you're planning to do this time. You can even say that I, Wu Juanhao, am the most suitable candidate for this mission. If you're not willing to pay this price, then I'll join the Tian Rue squad. I believe they will be more than happy to invite me." The Tian Rue squad. The older female cultivator's expression changed when she heard that. Long Yu was a little surprised when he heard that. The Tian Rue squad was famous around the Spring Heavenly Pagoda. Apart from an Emperor Path mystical realm expert leading them, they also had 2 7 Daos divine realm experts and 4 6 Daos divine realm experts. Their overall strength was much stronger than the cracked Fong squad. However, the Tian Rue squad's actions were extremely despicable. If they encountered any danger in the Spring Heavenly Pagoda, the Tian Rue squad's method was to use the weakest member as bait while the others took the opportunity to escape. Only by doing that, the Tian Rue squad was able to explore one secret realm after another in the Spring Heavenly Pagoda and obtain a lot of treasures. Eventually, they became one of the most famous squads in the Spring Heavenly Pagoda. Along the way, Long Yu had heard quite a few people mentioning the Tian Rue squad. Naturally, Long Yu looked down on the Tian Rue squad's actions. Therefore, he would never join the Tian Rue squad. The cracked Fong squad's actions were rumored to be the same as what Long Yu had imagined. Therefore, he wanted to join the cracked Fong squad. Since he was going to join the party, he had to trust the character of everyone in the party. Facing a strong enemy wasn't scary. What was scary was being surrounded by strong enemies and suddenly being stabbed in the back by your own people. What's your decision? 100 Shinbi. Call your captain over immediately to make a decision. The handsome young martial cultivator, Wu Juanhao, looked at the older female cultivator with a playful expression. Your captain shouldn't make a decision that will disappoint me. Our captain is currently buying recovery pills. I'm afraid he won't be able to make it here so quickly. Qiao Xing said hatefully. That's not good. I'll give your captain the time it takes to burn a jaw stick. Wu Juanhao smiled faintly. Wu Juanhao's negotiation with the 2 female cultivators had gone from being ignored by them at the start to being so confident that he was even forcing them to call their captain over immediately. This undoubtedly showed how strong he was. The older female cultivator was still able to keep her cool before Wu Juanhao mentioned the Tian Rue squad. However, as soon as the Tian Rue squad was mentioned, she lost her cool. This was because the cracked Fong squad and the Tian Rue squad had always been enemies. If Wu Juanhao joined the Tian Rue squad for the upcoming operation, it would definitely not be good news for the cracked Fong squad. While Wu Juanhao and the 2 women were confronting each other, Long Yu had already used his divine concealment technique to quietly approach the 3 of them. He even went to the side of the older female cultivator. Perhaps you guys have other options. Long Yu hadn't revealed himself, but his confident voice resounded, and it caused the 2 women and Wu Juanhao to be instantly stunned. The 3 of them looked around in succession, yet they were utterly unable to find Long Yu's figure. Long Yu's divine concealment technique was a technique that had cultivated the ancient desolation shadow kill to its peak. For what he could see, the ancient desolation shadow kill was an upper desolation level martial skill. It was more powerful than ordinary ancient desolation level martial skills, so its derivative techniques were naturally powerful. More importantly, Long Yu had comprehended 20% of the divine concealment technique, which made the effect of the divine concealment technique even more powerful. Who's talking? Wu Juanhao's face darkened. He glanced at the people around him and shouted. The martial cultivators around him stepped back one by one, afraid that they would get into trouble if they offended Wu Juanhao. I'm the one who's talking. Can't you guys find me? That's right. I'm the person that the cracked Fong squad is looking for. Long Yu's voice continued to spread. This time, the 3 of them heard it clearly. The voice came from the older female cultivator's side and kept moving around the 3 of them. Who are you? The older female cultivator was stunned. She was delighted. She didn't expect that such a person would appear when they were facing Wu Juanhao's threat. What a pleasant surprise. The older female cultivator didn't like the domineering Wu Juanhao, not to mention using 100 Shinbi as a reward to invite him to join the cracked Fong squad. Now, another powerful martial cultivator who knew the divine concealment technique had appeared. This was what the older female cultivator wanted to see the most. Moreover, this martial cultivator was right beside the 3 of them. They couldn't find him at all. This showed that his divine concealment technique was probably not any weaker than Wu Juanhao's. Stop pretending to be mysterious. Tell me your name if you have the guts. Wu Juanhao's face darkened. This was a great opportunity for him to extort money. How could he be willing to let others ruin his plan? I'm called Mountain Ghost. I come and go without a trace. Even if I tell you my name, what can you do to me? Long Yu chuckled. His words were filled with obvious contempt. The disdain in these words caused the older female cultivator and the young girl, Xiao Xing, to be rather delighted. This undoubtedly showed that the person hiding in the shadows completely looked down upon the likes of Wu Juanhao. In other words, the strength of the new person who had concealed himself was definitely stronger than Wu Juanhao. This was good news for the cracked Fong squad. I don't believe that your divine concealment technique is better than mine. Wu Juanhao's face darkened. He raised his head and looked at the older cultivator. I'll wait here for your captain to come over. Let's see if your captain can discover me. As for this divine concealment brat, he's only putting on a show in front of us. Against your 7 Paths Divinity Realm captain, he'll definitely show his true colors. At that time, we'll talk about the 100 Shinbi again. With that, Wu Juanhao's figure flashed, and he hid himself. It looked like he wanted to compete with Long Yu in divine concealment technique. Chapter 659. For Long Yu, he had to defeat Wu Juanhao in terms of invisibility if he wanted to get the chance to join the Cracked Tooth squad. Otherwise, he might not stand a chance at all. Moreover, if he revealed his true form, he would definitely be exposed as a mere 2 Paths Divinity Realm cultivator. If he didn't want to reveal his true battle prowess, he would be completely outclassed by Wu Juanhao. Since Wu Juanhao wanted to compete with Long Yu in terms of invisibility, Long Yu had no reason to refuse. Seriously, Nanmen Xia, when is your captain coming? I don't want to waste too much time with this strange kid. Although Wu Juanhao had concealed himself, he was still speaking, appearing rather impatient. It's hard to say who's wasting whose time. Long Yu replied straightforwardly. Can the two of you stop arguing? The older female cultivator called Nanmen Xia said, Our captain should be here soon. It won't take more than an incense stick's time. At that time, the winner of your invisibility skills will be decided. The outcome has already been decided. Competing with this person in terms of invisibility is a complete waste of time. Who can be better at invisibility than me? Wu Juanhao, in the vicinity of the Source Sky Tower. Wu Juanhao said calmly. He was extremely confident in his skills. This time, Long Yu didn't say anything. He just maintained his state of concealment while walking around the vicinity, quietly waiting for the captain of the Cracked Tooth squad to arrive. It was said that apart from the 2 female cultivators in front of him, there were 2 other members in the Cracked Tooth squad. They were a pair of twin brothers. The elder brother was the captain of the Cracked Tooth squad and had a 7 Paths Divinity Realm cultivation. He was just 1 step away from the Emperor Path Mystery Realm. The younger brother's talent was much stronger than his elder brother's. He had already stepped into the King Path Mystic Realm 2 years ago. Although he wasn't the leader of the Broken Tooth squad, he was the soul of the entire squad. The captain of the Cracked Tooth squad was called Gu Wenshan. His younger brother was called Gu Yixian. They were indeed rather famous in the Source Sky Tower. As long as the 7 divine tier elites arrived, they would be able to tell whether Wu Juanhao and Long Yu met the requirements. If both of them could avoid the detection of the leader of the Crack Fong party, then there was no doubt that both of them met the requirements of the Crack Fong party. In that case, it was obvious who the Crack Tooth squad would choose. If they chose Wu Juanhao, they would have to pay 100 Shinbi. But if they chose the Mountain Ghost, who was just as good at stealth, they wouldn't have to pay that much. Of course, be it the onlookers, the 2 female cultivators who were in charge of recruitment, or Wu Juanhao, who was competing with Long Yu in invisibility, none of them thought that the sneaky Mountain Ghost would be able to escape from the squad leader's detection. The time it took for an incense stick to burn passed quickly. A middle-aged man in a gray robe walked over from afar. All the martial practitioners in the Jianghu made way for him. This man was the leader of the Cracked Tooth Squad, Guwen Shan. Guwen Shan came alone. He looked rather steady, and from the look in his eyes, one could tell that he was a very organized and powerful martial practitioner. Guwen Shan walked over steadily. He looked at the older female cultivator and asked, "Yin Xiao, what happened?" The older female cultivator, Nanmin Yin Xia, took 2 steps forward when she saw the leader of the Cracked Tooth Squad. She immediately explained, "Leader, 2 martial practitioners came to apply. One is Wu Juanhao, and the other is Mountain Ghost. They are both hiding nearby. Can you detect them?" 2. Gu Wenshan was surprised to hear that, and he was even more surprised when he heard Wu Juanhao's name. What did Wu Juanhao offer? 100 Shinbi. The mature female cultivator, Nanmin Yingxia, replied. Gu Wenshan frowned slightly when he heard that. The one called Mountain Ghost. Wu Juanhao's voice suddenly sounded from his side. His voice was vague and carried a hint of smugness. "Are you still there? Do you dare to say something to prove that you're still nearby? That you haven't run away with your tail between your legs? I won't run even if you run away." Long Yu spoke directly. His voice actually came from beside the leader of the Cracked Tooth Squad, Gu Wenshan. Gu Wenshan was startled when he heard that voice. He quickly turned around and saw a group of martial practitioners pointing at him from afar. He couldn't help but feel puzzled. "Mountain Ghost, I can't see you now. This proves that your concealment technique is pretty good. If you don't ask for too much like Wu Juanhao, our Cracked Tooth Squad will choose you," Gu Wenshan said without hesitation. Wu Juanhao almost jumped up when he heard that. "Gu Wenshan, what are you saying? You can't detect that kid called Mountain Ghost?" Wu Juanhao's words were filled with disbelief. "How can there be someone better at concealment than me? Wu Juanhao, in the vicinity of the Spring Heavenly Pagoda. Maybe he's not a martial practitioner in the vicinity." The young girl, Qiao Xing, muttered softly. This made Wu Juanhao even angrier. "Gu Wenshan, you better think this through. If you don't want me, I, Wu Juanhao, will join the Tian Rue squad. You better weigh the pros and cons yourself." Wu Juanhao snorted coldly and showed himself in front of Gu Wenshan. "And Mountain Ghost, do you dare show yourself? Let me see what kind of mystifying fellow you are." Gu Wenshan's expression changed when he heard the words Tian Rue squad. As the leader of the Cracked Fang squad, he clearly knew the significance of the upcoming operation better than the 2 female cultivators present. If the Tian Rue squad managed to get the first move, the gap between the Cracked Fang squad and the Tian Rue squad strength would only widen. Originally, this was a chance for the Cracked Tooth squad to catch up to the Tian Rue squad. However, if Wu Juanhao joined the Tian Rue squad, "Leader, I don't think you need to make a decision in such a hurry." Long Yu's voice came from his side. "I believe that no matter how good Wu Juanhao's concealment technique is, he can't avoid the senses of an Emperor Path Mystic Realm powerhouse, right? Once your brother arrives, it will be enough to prove that my concealment technique is a lot better than Wu Juanhao's." Everyone was shocked when they heard that. This Mountain Ghost kid actually dared to say that his concealment technique could avoid the senses of an Emperor Path Mystic Realm powerhouse. Such a terrifying ability had never appeared in the entire Source Heavenly Pagoda before. Even if it did, it would be a powerhouse who had entered the Emperor Path Mystic Realm. Could this Mountain Ghost be an Emperor Path Mystic Realm powerhouse? The crowd whispered and discussed among themselves. None of them had heard of an Emperor Path Mystic Realm powerhouse, so they guessed that he was an outsider. Wu Juanhao's face darkened when he thought the same thing. If this Mountain Ghost was really an Emperor Path Mystic Realm powerhouse, wouldn't the Cracked Tooth squad be a lot stronger than the Tian Rue squad? The combat strength of an Emperor Path Mystic Realm powerhouse was not something a 7 Realms Divinity Realm Martial Cultivator could compare to. Even 10 7 Realms Divinity Realm Martial Cultivators working together would not be a match for an Emperor Path Mystic Realm powerhouse. Who doesn't know how to brag? I'd like to see if you can avoid Gu Ishin's senses. Wu Juanhao did not plan to admit defeat. He stood where he was and said with a gloomy face. Gu Ishin was the younger brother of the Cracked Tooth Squad's leader, Gu Wenshan. He was also a famous Emperor Path Mystic Realm powerhouse in the Crack 2 squad. To Wu Juanhao, he had to confirm whether this mountain ghost was an Emperor Path Mystic Realm powerhouse or not. This would decide whether he would join the Tian Rue squad and risk his life for them. One should know that the Tian Rue squad had always been ruthless and cruel. If the situation turned sour, he would be the first one to be left behind. Wu Juanhao, who had the lowest martial realm and was an outsider. If Mountain Ghost was really a King Path Secret Realm expert, then Wu Juanhao would have to consider whether he should stand against the Split 2 squad and become enemies with Gu Yixian and Mountain Ghost, two King Path Secret Realm experts. Time passed quickly. Under Gu Wenshan's notice, the Emperor Path Mystic Realm powerhouse, Gu Yixian, who was resting in the cultivation area, soon arrived at the scene like a light breeze. He was a young man with features similar to Gu Wenshan's, but he was very handsome. He wore a white robe and had a special temperament that was out of this world. Gu Yixian's eyes were very lively. He glanced at the scene and nodded at Gu Wenshan. Then, he turned around and left. All right, Wu Juanhao, the Crack 2 squad doesn't need you anymore. You can leave now. If you want to help the Tian Rue squad, then go ahead. Gu Wenshan laughed when he saw his younger brother's reaction. He waved his hand and said, "Let's go. Let's go to the resting area and entertain our new friend, Mountain Ghost." Gu Wenshan's words made Wu Juanhao's face turn ashen. Even Gu Yixian, an Emperor Path Mystic Realm powerhouse, could not sense Mountain Ghost when it was invisible. Long he did not show himself. He looked at Gu Wenshan and the others who seemed to be looking forward to seeing him, but he knew that he could not show himself now. He had to give Wu Juanhao and the Tian Rue squad the wrong information. Mountain Ghost was an Emperor Path Mystic Realm powerhouse. Gu Wenshan and the others were a little confused. Why did Mountain Ghost not show himself? I'll follow behind you guys. You guys go first. Long Yu's voice rang in Gu Wenshan's ears. Truth be told, Gu Wenshan did not like being spied on while he could not sense the existence of others. However, he did not care too much when he remembered that this person was about to become a member of his Crack 2 squad. Okay, Gu Wenshan nodded. He did not ask Long Yu to show himself immediately. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.